From author Brian K. Morris comes a tale of irreverent holiday horror, told with much inappropriate humor. Dr. Victor Frankenstein creates the spirit of giving himself. Ho, ho, ho! Santa-Stein, or the post-holiday Prometheus. Available at Amazon.com. Get your copy today.
Welcome to Clever Title Pending with your host, Brian K. Morris, independent publisher, freelance hybrid author, award-winning playwright, and former mortician's assistant. Don't send him title recommendations because Brian knows exactly what he's doing. So just sit down and look pretty as Brian K. Morris scrolls through your comments and plays with his mouse. Join him on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central, for Evening Pandemonium and Moonlight Madness.
Good evening, everybody. How the heck are you? Welcome to Clever Title Pending for November 3rd, 2020. All right, got 10/12ths of the year over with, but we're starting the month out on a really high note already. We've got an incredible guest tonight. You're going to love him. Please bring your questions, and whether if you're watching live, you can do that. If you're watching on the rerun, we hope you'll join us for one of the live shows so you can interact with us, as the young kids say. Anyway, to everyone listening on iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and Spotify, welcome. Hope you like what you hear. And I'm your host, Brian K. Morris, obviously. And thank you for being here. If you're watching on Facebook, on the Rising Tide Publications page, or Geek Insider, please give the video a like if you would. If you're on, I think I got that wrong. If you're on YouTube and watching it on there, please give the thumbs up on the video. Also, please subscribe. It helps us so very much. It doesn't cost a thing, just takes a few seconds, and we love you for it. And also, if you're watching on Facebook, on IndieVent or Rising Tide Publications page, again, please give the a thumbs up on the video here if you're enjoying what you're seeing, and you will, because we've got a lively guest tonight. We really do. This guy does everything. We talked before the show about wearing many hats, and this guy is going to have to grow about 4 or 5 more heads to cover all of his, to house all of his, because he's not only a very prolific YouTuber and broadcaster. He's also an author, a publisher, a sword master, an artist, does everything. He does it well, too. And also, we want to say we're powered by geekinsider.com. Thank you very much, risingtide.pub. And we're brought to you tonight by Plasma Fire Graphics, when the look of your book matters to you. And what matters to me is getting this guy on here. We want to welcome Mr. Nicholas Tockert. Nick, hey, how are you tonight?
Hey, I'm doing great. It's so weird not to say it's Nick Tockert here with the Historical Fencing Guild. Because, I'm so used to the camera comes on, you just snap right into it. But yeah, it's great to be here, Brian.
Well, you can. I'll see you later, guy. You just
you know what? I can. By the time I'm done, I'll have you a nice little army of mildly well-trained lunatics to use at your disposal. It's kind of what I do. But yeah,
I like this. It's already you've wormed your way into my heart, young man.
Hey, I'm all about serving a competent evil overlord. You've been in the market for a while. Let's just let that rising tide break over Castle Grayskull and just upgrade matters all across the board. I'm sorry, I dropped my snow shovel for a minute. Let me get that back going. But yeah, I'm looking forward. I got all sorts of random, misconnected things that might be useful to the people. Most of the folks who follow your Nevermind the Furthermore know I'm the horrible, the Mighty Manatee Man, master of marketing. Also, a swordmaster artist. Let's see, swordmaster artist, retired. Read that, retired. I don't do consults anymore. Paranormal researcher, sword designer. I helped make this a thing. What else? Basically, I lose track. Game designer. I've got the notes for right. Oh god, yes, I've got the notes for Hybrids, the Sons of Gods, the RPG, stacked. Actually, it's all over the floor because that sword crashed and knocked everything off, which is normal, folks. This is how we get rolling. There's way too much tension and depression and serious enough for me to do that right now. Life is far too important to take it seriously, guys. But I hope I can at least entertain, maybe educate, using the program we're rocking right now. Brian can see the comments, but for my internet not to crash, I can't. So this is already going to be a colorful evening. So
yes, and just, Nick, here is a reminder that there are many commercial brands of decaf coffee with the full rich flavor of regular. So anyway, boy, you think I'm excited? Boy, howdy!
Okay, this is what happens when you take Mio and you put about half a bottle of the caffeinated black cherry Mio in a liter tub, which I normally open up with a can of Mountain Dew to ease into my caffeinated tirades on any given Friday night, which you guys can see on the Historical Fencing Guild's channel. But that's not quite what we're here for today. What are we here for today? Are we here to talk?
We're here for another 120 minutes. Yeah, there we go. Show it. Let me
this is fun. Oh, cool. This is the simple sword, folks. I've been teaching people how to sword fight for about 20 years. I sat and read 60 manuals, historical manuals, all this stuff, and I found out a couple things. One, they're boring. Two, they're expensive. And three, most notably, they're written in foreign languages. Hello, Trevor Hawkins. But so what I did is I decided there needed to be a manual that worked for everybody, regardless of health, condition, or wealth, which is why I keep it so dang cheap on Kindle. But I also, just to make it easy to understand, I use super complex, that's right, folks, stick figures. Because no one can learn as easily as from stick figures. I have the silly idea that expensive knowledge should be shared free or cheaply. I do like to make a little bit of bucks, but I'm prattling. I don't know if this is the sleigh ride Brian was expecting, but as soon as the music came up, I turned on. And unlike usual, I don't have to lag my comments with YouTube or Facebook blocking out my shares. So it's kind of groovy. I'll take a sip now.
There you go. Go for it. While you're slugging that down, let's say hello to Teresa Dunn. She wishes us a good evening. And Cindy Kep, we're glad you're here, says great eating at salad stations and has the only political comment I will allow tonight. Okay? Someone just asked Cindy Kep, who do you think will win the 2020 presidential election? She said she didn't know. She doesn't have 2020 vision. She'll be here all week.
Okay, good, because I'm trying not to be a Gummertarian, because Burt Gummer's anti-graboid campaign has been very powerful for those of us in the Tremor sphere. Just saying subterranean worms. That's the real. That's 2120, guys.
There we go. Well,
wow, I'm light years ahead of everything today. I'm already a century ahead. That's okay. I'll rock with it.
There we go. Yeah. You'll just remember the future like all of us. And Sarah, glad to see you, hun.
Oh,
see, we got royalty showing up from YouTube.
Yeah, I'm glad. These are the folks. It's so weird to be talking verbally to the people I'm fat thumbingly typing through, and now as you hear me speak, you realize those typos, they'd come out verbally anyway. So don't worry about it, folks.
They're used to me. Yeah. Well, Carlene, you're not disappointed. She says she's here. The hilarity may start now. Well, we've been at for about 10 minutes now. So.
Oh yeah. Pass the hat.
That's right. And we're here together, so let's bring up the hilarity Carly.
Yes,
and
ladies. However you choose to, you know?
That's true. Yeah, and we've got a whole bunch of comments here. We're way behind already. This is a good sign. And what should we do first, Sarah? Shenanigans are us. Worst, Carl. And Carlene, I think he's feeding the cat like a good butler should be doing. And
Sorry.
That's all right.
We don't need Carl. We can have a good time. It's okay. He doesn't necessarily need to know. But... Oh, I'm sorry. Did you expect me to miss a beat? No. There will be no
I'm just
mercy
amazed.
tonight.
Is this what it's like when people watch me? Holy cats, this is great.
Yeah.
And Charles at Millhouse says hi all. Hello, Charles.
Hi, Charles. Oh, cool. Your picture came in.
Yeah,
oh,
really.
10 babies. You're awesome. Like, it's so cool to be able to just say how awesome some of these people, because I watch your stuff, and it's like, I can't really interrupt all the time, but now it's my end, so I can't. Your stuff is awesome, Ted.
There you go.
So
I agree with that. And hey there, Ted. Says Sarah. And Ted, Dave's Artistry says, hey, Sarah. Don't forget Dave's Artistry on Facebook.com and on YouTube, where you can find Nick Tockert every Friday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, with the Historical Fencing Guild, where, as I like to say, he teaches you how to kill each other safely. Don't leave murder to the hand of amateurs. Get fully trained by.
No. That's not. And part of me doing it weekly is your fault.
Oh,
because I used to have weekly practice. Yeah, no, because your morning show got me through the conversion so much. Okay, I wanted other people to have something to like lay on. You know what I mean? Like you gotta have something to break it up. So yeah, no. Oh, you have no clue how important, never mind, when you were just blazing through mornings, and we could see it was killing you, but, you were heroic, Brian. I know this is supposed to be about me, but I'm not about me, so I tend to be about others, so I'm going to be about you for a second, and, this is that chance to publicly say, dude, I'm pretty sure you saved lives. You kept it up when the world was putting it down, and everybody says it, but they can't say it to your face because you'll be all, oh no, I'll change the subject, but you can't because I'm your guest.
Or you think I have no power, huh? Is that what you're saying?
Oh no, I don't.
Ha 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 ha. Okay, Padawan, you're. Oh, I thought it was fun when Ron was here Friday. Oh boy. Nick, thank you sincerely. I sincerely thank you. I really do. And if I have inspired you to do your show more often, then I think all the 2.5 months of trying to conceal the fact that it was exhausting me.
All 37 years of 2020 that has been going on have been made. At least the first decade and a half,
That's true. That's true. I just have a feeling if we can get through tonight, we're going to be fine. And I'm not talking about this show. I'm talking about the stuff that's happening around it. So please tell your friends, right now, send them a PM and let them know that the show is on, that the antidote to politics is on right now. And we are here waiting for you.
Look, when you hear a bump in the night, you don't cower. You make a stranger noise to assert dominance over it, right? So when the world gets too strange, you just reach up to that higher strangeness and just pull it down. It's like, don't try with me. You know what I mean? You want to talk, the moon landing is fake. I'll tell you, you believe in the moon? You just gotta always a sudden, brutal escalation of force is the solution to any number of tactical situations.
Yes, that's right. That's right. And Grant Lankard says, hey, I didn't know you were doing this tonight. Yes, we do this every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Different guests every week, and sometimes twice a week like we did last week. So please check out last week's. We had Master Ron Fitzgerald and Brian Wensloff of Reels and Heels, and we've got a really cool show coming up 1 week from now with, and we'll announce this, and you'll be the first to hear this. We're going to have 2 old guests return. Well, they're not old; they're spring chickens. Bobby Nash and Jim Beard will be here next year. 2 new pulp writers, and that is the episode in which I become totally superfluous because those guys like to talk, and I love listening to them. So I'm just going to introduce them, and I'm going to go out for pizza and beer. You won't even miss me. So yeah, honestly, it'll be a fun show. It really will.
Just like tonight's, my scope is off, so I'll work on that.
Exactly. Yeah, there we go. But anyway, Grant, yes, we're on every Tuesday night. You can actually ask. That's why I tell people, YouTube will give you a notice of it if you subscribe. Also, you can subscribe on Facebook, but sometimes the button comes up and sometimes it's done. Michaela Jade is here. Hello. Hey, girls. I brought the popcorn. And then goes,
hey
Ted.
How you doing?
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm sure we're making it sound sexier than it is here. But, and also, we've got Lacey.
I don't know about you. Oh, he says sexy and Lacey Lemke shows up. I am not surprised, friends. How I talk to her all the time. She's a wonderful, wonderful author. I meet the coolest people through this show. So yeah, I'm really glad to see Lacey up and about and causing trouble. Please cause trouble. This is not meant to be serious, folks. Tonight is not the night for sanity. No. So, caffeinate to excess,
Yes, to quote Bruce Wayne, let's get nuts here. Anyway, Lacey was one of the guests at StoryCon a couple years ago, held at the Fowler Public Library, myself included. Yes. So,
and I got stuck in a little side room with the door that kept closing.
That's right.
Well, that's what happens when you're married to run a thing, Like, can you interrupt your booth to run the video games for the small, obnoxious children who are not being supervised? Yep.
Yep. Also for the unsupervised adults as well.
Hey, you know what? Not much difference.
There we go. And Trevor Hawkins says, looking forward to 2 hours of escape from reality. Well, we're well on our way, and we've killed 17 of them so far, along with an appropriate amount of brain cells. And woo, hey, Michaela. And you insulted him, and now he's here to defend his honor. Yes, I had to kill his majesty.
Uncle Cara has hit the scene.
That's right. That's right. Yes, everyone get ready for the drunken rant this Friday. Unfortunately, it's on while Nick's on, but watch both. You'll have like 2 computers and watch them both simultaneously.
That's what split screen's for. Yeah.
Yeah.
Besides, I cover the caffeine addiction. Carl covers the alcohol, and somewhere in the middle, the twain shall meet. Usually at Denny's at like 4 a.m. But
I'm there.
Oh yeah. I would formally petition to get Earl Park, Indiana, at Denny's because it has nothing. So that would be just like the best thing in the world. We'll just bulldoze some part of it. Oh,
yeah. Nick lives in a very small community. I think we can charitably say Earl Park, and it's a nice looking town.
It is. It's I'm very pleased because, location. I have a cemetery and a convalescent home in iShot with just the experimental dairy that may or may not be producing the mutant cows that'll eat our face, I'm worried about that shipment of AK-47s that was going out there, but when have cows with guns ever been a problem? Okay, sorry, but yes, go on.
The black vans are pulling up right now to the Casey's in Fowler just to refuel, so they know they can make the return trip from Earl Park.
They can try.
Well, yeah, I know. But it's right off of I-50. Was I-52? You're still on State Route 52. Earl Park reminds me of one of those towns that 50 years ago was probably jumping.
Yeah. It was.
I grew up in one of those, so.
I've been looking into it, and there was stuff. Mm-hmm. And I'm very pleased that one may actually acquire a beverage without being 21 because they've installed a soda dispenser. Ooh. Soda vending machine next to the fire department because, that's about as metropolitan as Earl Park gets. And, from where
you've got a public library.
Yes, we do, and it is a fine, lovely public library with an amazing staff and a wonderful boss who needs to be kind to her second. Anyway, yeah. No, Karina does an amazing job with a minuscule budget, and we really have pulled. It's one of those jobs where it's a pleasure and an honor to be part of, even if it's only a little bit, because there's not much real service of the community left. You know, the library is one of those places is one of the few places you can exist without having to transfer money. You go to a restaurant, you go to a mall, you go to a store, half the parks you have to pay to get into. The fact you could just walk into a library and be in a place where it doesn't cost money to do something, you know? And yeah, free entertainment, you know, the world of books. I'm a passionate reader, shockingly. But, you know, I love how understatedly rebellious and revolutionary libraries are, because it's just this strange line against, you know, a certain measure of commercialism. We just, you know, it's like, no, everybody should be able to read what they want, you know? Oh, okay, cool. Let's, you know, you want to see some, I have a whole bunch of them because I've stolen them from my wife in other ways. The you know, Bad Books Week. Librarians are a rowdy lot, you know. It's fun. I'm glad to be among their number amongst my many other things. And Lord, do I have many other things. I have been
that sounds like a personal thing.
Oh, no. I think my work history is about 4 pages long, and I've been everything from a direct care professional dispensing meds and working with the special needs to literally the guy in the suit at Chuck E. Cheese doing the Chucky Shuffle. Doesn't matter. I think if it has a hi, my name is Joe, I've done it at one point or another.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. And we have Willow Schuyler.
Hi,
Evening
Willow.
to you, darling. Do you know Willow?
I actually just got friends with her because she cosplayed as Elvira, and that is one of the most important, you know, life-affirming forces in my universe. I actually have one of those, like, 3-foot tall paper, you know, like the Halloween decoration Elvira's.
Oh, yeah.
It lives in my living room under a little fake full moon because it's my living room and I can do things like that, you know?
That's right.
And I have an incredibly understanding wife. But
I feel you in that regard too. Yeah, she knows about my unending lust for Cassandra Peterson, and she says, "Don't blame you. Don't blame you."
Just yes, you know. What?
Well, I was going to say, I want to promote Willow here because at 8 p.m. on Thursday, she's going to have a new episode of Willow's Pillow Talk, and I'll be sharing the pillow with her and Willow and with Michaela Jade.
So I had to analyze the rating of the show for a moment, given the circles I travel in.
I know. That's Yeah. Well, what could possibly go wrong? You would think something like naughtiness would occur with the three of us on there. No. We're total pros. Anyway, says, "Hi, Michaela." And Grant Lankard announces that he will be drinking like a fish tonight. Well, tonight you picked the right night to do it.
Buddy, that way you can say it was all a hallucination and start over in a while. The assassins have failed. Yes, there's Carol.
That's right. And Bill Sarn says, "Good evening, Brian Nicholson, all the Pendarians. Glad to see you here, Bill Sarn. Sarnart 76, the artwork of Bill Sarn on Facebook." And Carl says, "Hello, everybody." And everybody's name is going flying across the room. Carl, Donna, Willow, and Joe McKeel. Howdy, y'all.
Howdy,
have you ever checked out Stupid O'Clock?
No, I haven't got to. I have to be very. I have to, because we only have one television and our internet usually runs through it. I'm actually in my art area kind of thing. I have to preview almost everything because I have an 11-year-old autistic son.
Right.
So everything, it's like, huh. So, you know, it's a matter of, if I get him to the bath early, I'll see if it's okay, and then maybe we can watch it between Minecraft sessions or something. But
that would work. That would work, because actually the Thursday night show is almost always very PG.
Oh, good
You
to
use
know. Then
13
I
at
will
first.
definitely be following it because I love this network of people. It's the coolest people on earth,
Oh yeah.
or from wherever some of you are from. I
Yeah,
don't
we're
judge.
just we're just visiting actually, but no. Joe has Stupid O'Clock every Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern and 11 p.m. Saturdays, and plus he just got through with a triumphant 49-hour-long virtual con,
Oh,
HalloCon this last weekend, and it was glorious. It was fantastic. So while you can still see the tapes on that, I would
you know,
definitely check that out.
I mean, I make no hiding. I don't disguise my background coming from really broke. Like as a kid, I was broke, and it affects you. And like cons and for a long time, comic books and things I couldn't afford. It was like you'd go, you drool on them, and then you'd like I would grab the Reaper miniatures catalog of the month because that was free and I was allowed to take that. And yeah, and then go. But I could never go to the conventions. I'd hear about them. You know what I mean? And I was the guy who made his own minis out of fireworks sticks. I designed my whole game out of miniatures I made out of the little sticks left over from fireworks way back then. But these virtual cons are such an opportunity for the people who are like uh, the nice way is to say economically limited, but us broke, can really. It's a chance to meet up. It's a chance to see the kind of people we never get to see, even if it isn't, even if it's just a screen. It's amazing. So, anybody doing something like that, you guys don't get enough thanks. I've ran a couple conventions and a whole lot of medieval event type things back in the day, and it is such a labor, but it's a labor of love. And then you're like dead for a week and a half, twitching with no brain power, and Simple Addition doesn't work. But it all boils down to that. Just that you're doing that. It's a way that people can get a hold of. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
And,
That's
and
true.
now we're going to go back. It's so weird to see the waving and names from the other side of the screen. But
Yeah, we got more. Joe Bachman, good evening to you. Glad you're here. And Sarah, glad you're under the sheets and lick a spine. And Carl Wisman says, butt beard cat fisting and cigars are great. Definitely check out his show with Ted Davies Artistry on YouTube, Cigar Appreciation Show. And hey, Phil Thompson, how you doing? And Sarah says, there you go, Carl. Cat fisting matters. And there is Jessica Brienne. Hey, Nick and Brian.
hi.
Jessica, how you doing?
Oh yeah, it's
See, I'm
great
cool.
seeing some of these folks. Jesse and I go way, way, way back, and Joe actually shares a booth with me. Well, I share a booth with him at Arcticon usually. And he does wonderful wood burning. And I love plugging other people's stuff, as you well know. And you just have to deal with the verbal. I think Jesse's had more business plans than anyone I've ever met, though. The woman's a powerhouse. It's always interesting to see what the next scheme of the week is. But yeah, she's heroic. It's great. But
sounds like an episode of Switch. But anyway, but that dates me. And Carlene, and now Sweet Carl has brought me a Hershey bar. Hashtag adorbs. And hey, good Carl, says Sarah. And Bill Sargent says Nick is possessed by the energy of Ric Flair. Can I get a woo?
Woo! Yes, I get possessed. Yeah, it's funny being post Halloween, but yeah, being possessed is one of those things that at different points in my life, through accident, you spend a while oppressed, and it's like, hey, I'm suddenly better at Latin. But yeah, oh no, Ric Flair is great. That's Golden Age Supreme Wrestling era right there.
Oh my God, yes, my favorite wrestler. Seriously.
He's way up there. I will admit, I will always be a Rey Mysterio fan just because I was a little guy, and the crazy acrobatics, it's like it hit right to my heart. Might shock you as a little guy with a big mouth. I have received many a fist as a gift and offering.
We knowing Carl and his catfisting mania, we may want to revisit that statement and come at it from another angle. You know my audience here, so.
Oh, I know. I assume that some gift that will haunt me for, say, the rest of my life and further ensure I have no political career will undoubtedly be born this evening. There's no doubt or question. I know what I'm getting into.
Yeah,
that's the caveat.
I've given up on it. No state or federal job for Brian.
Oh God.
Oh, and anyone who's watching live, Nick has a very weak connection, so that's why sometimes his mouth and his words don't match up. It's like a Godzilla movie. So we're bringing you the best of kaiju here too.
I learned Japanese from a very attractive young teacher, and didn't pay attention right. So there's a segment, it just my sync is out of order. It has nothing to do with me living in the dead center of nowhere, like Courage the Cowardly Dog is across the way somewhere, But we found my field a little too isolating. But that's okay, I grew up in Spook Central. This place is mellow, you don't have things coming through the wall to say hi with extreme prejudice. So,
the night is young.
I'm sorry, I'm coming. Oh, I hope not. This house used to be a vicarage, so it shouldn't. But I'm coming off of Halloween, and usually around Halloween I can tell all the bad stories, or why Nick is retired from doing stupid things, at least in theory.
Oh my God!
Don't worry about But I'm sorry, I'm just prattling, and I'm sure, like, having watched the show, 50,000 comments have gone by, and there's
no, they haven't gone by at all yet. That's the thing.
Oh, God. Look. Yes. I'm wondering, and this might throw a little shade, but are the Nevermorians a little more aggressive in their commenting than the Pandarians? I'm seriously wondering this, because that's a slugfest to get your comments in the morning, and it's true. It's my morning mental bout, So
we're here. Now I've got a couple comments you're gonna love since you came in. Here we go. Carl Westman says, "Welcome to Fibber McGee's Closet and the ADHD Theater."
It's first off, I have a condition. It is not ADHD. It's ADOS, attention deficit. Ooh, shiny. Sorry. So, I don't want to be misdiagnosed or misrepresent my talents here, but yeah.
There you go. And Sarah says, 2 lively personalities on the show right now. Yep.
Well, Sarah, I was born with this. I have to have a good personality, I've had 2 people say I'm attractive. My wife and my mother both are nearly legally blind. So, you got to keep it rolling and moving.
That's why I dress well.
In college to get to my mighty 5'7" right about now. So you know what I mean? You got to keep on it, folks.
Get out and push if you got to. Joe Dog McKeel from YouTube says, I should have had this guy on a panel over this last week. Yeah, see?
You know what? Look me up, hit me up. I am bored and desperate for money and attention, folks. So, if I can help, I'll be happy to help anybody, especially when they need fillers. I am your everyday friendly neighborhood substitute something or other. One of these days I'm going to get a fez in the mail. Nick, I need to take a break. Pop.
There you go. Oh, there we go. And Terry MacGyver says, "Good evening, Brian." Hey, Nicholas.
Hey, Terry MacGyver. Good to see you.
Yes. And he says, no drugs,
except caffeine. Caffeine is your friend.
And Black Cherry Jet Fuel says Lacey Lemke.
Abso-fraggin-lutely. See, she's seen enough of my private shows to know that this is about a mellow average. If I don't have a lot going, I could get rolling like this, or I see a product that either is ripping people off or is really, really good. I'm like, I don't have much money, but I bought it. So how about you?
Yeah. And here we go. Carl Westman ought to send some thanks because he goes, "Holy crap, I am opening the vodka now."
Well, yeah, you have to. You see, I can't drink. My family has an allergy. It's a profound and very serious matter where if we ingest alcohol, we break out in handcuffs. So, so I don't ever want to have to say, hi, my name is, because that's a horribly boring way to introduce yourself. I usually prefer to have somebody ask a question like, who's that in the hat? Or why is he on fire? Or,
or your usual alias, officer, that man.
Oh no, that officer, that's where my cane gets extra necessary. No, sir, I'm just a simple little guy trying to get by. I'm not that interesting, but thank you. Excuse me. you got downshift fast. It's just like driving down 41, You head north toward 41, you better be willing to whoop it down or else they'll catch you.
That's true.
Buddy of mine made that mistake, got nailed for doing like 95.
Oh yeah, well, most of 41, except down around north of Rockville, is pretty much a straight line. So,
oh yeah,
yeah. So, and Cindy Kemp says, Joe, woo! And Michaela J says she likes that book. And Terry McIver says, kids, stay in school.
Hey, I got my bachelor's. Triple primary focus, double secondary, English, business, and history with psych and social floating on the side. This is what school can do to you if you're willing to get Lovecraftian, folks.
There we go. There we go. And I tell people I only have an associate degree in journalism. I got out before I could do permanent damage. Sarah's got the rum. And Carl
I really know why the rum is gone. Sarah's had it the whole time. Somebody
there we
Johnny
go.
Depp.
There we go. Instead of Eastern philosophy guy Joe Dog, and Joe Dog says, Carl Wisman, I am considering that last slug of brandy. And Carl says, you'll need a Joe Dog, go for it. And
so just for the record, within like less than an hour of being on your show, I've driven half your fans to drinking. Like, I don't know if this is because normally it takes someone very attractive to do that. So I'm not sure what's going on right here, but.
Yeah, and this is probably a record for how quickly we have gotten behind in the comments. So, but we're rolling with it. We are rolling with it. Hey, so
you put them up. I'll shut up. I just don't give me silence.
Okay, fine. I'll read them and you read. Okay, how's that? Simple Sword says Cindy Kemp is a very handy book. It has a lot of stuff I knew and a whole lot of stuff I didn't know. It also has some tips and tricks to accommodate for interesting limitations. And it's found on Amazon, isn't it, Nick?
Yes, sir. What I would tell people is instead of trying to find an individual thing, go Amazon.com/author/Nicholas Tockert. You'll find The Simple Sword. You'll find Big Stompy Robots, which is right here, folks.
Big Stompy Robots. Explain Big Stompy Robots.
Okay, Big Stompy I am an old gamer. I am a very old gamer. When people ask me what D&D looks like, I tell them it looks like this. Okay, World's Ugliest Dragon. But I played like Battletech, I played CAF, I played all these games, and I realized there were two fundamental problems. One, I was broke and I couldn't afford the minis. And two, the rules were abhorrently expensive and convoluted. So I went, why not make a simple, easy-to-play, cheap game use whatever minis you got instead of having to spend. You look it up, people spend $50 for minis. I love gaming, but that's insane. So, I literally started, I tell people I was broke, and I was. We didn't have a lot of money, and as a kid, I was brought up in a very old school manner. My first car was purchased at splitting wood $1 an hour to get my first car. So, this is kind of the environment I was brought up in. And I love the miniatures. I told earlier Brian I'd go get the Reaper Minis book. And I couldn't buy them, but I can make my own out of these little popsicle sticks and things. So I made a whole system around it. And it's light, and it's fast, and it's easy. And you can play it with your kids. You can play it with special needs people, which is what I did when I was working at Opportunity Enterprise. So I wanted something where I could share love and joy, and it wasn't. There are two things in the world I despise. I hate bullies with an unbridled passion, and I hate gatekeeping. And what I see gatekeeps people out of the things I love are expense and complexity. Oh, you can't get into Doctor Who. It's got 50 years of history. Just go watch something else. You know what I mean? Or you can't get into this game because you need to spend $200 in books and have been playing it for 30 years. I'm working hard not to swear here because I want to be nice for Brian's show. But when I made Big Stumpy Robots,
go ahead.
Oh, well, and then I can't, so it's like stammering. My dad's yelling at me right now. I grew up the son of the sailor of the 7th Fleet. I can swear. So anyhow, I listen to these asshats say, oh, they can't do that. You can't do that. I'm like, okay, bugger yourselves and listen. I'm going to make a system. It's going to be fun. So I made Big Stumpy Robots. And then I made it, a third the price to buy, and then a 10th the price to buy as a digital, and they're like, you can't do that. You can't stop me. So I'm like, okay, we'll make the rules simple. We'll make a world where people can get into it. I am proud that I can hand people one of my spare business cards, and I have the data card on the back. You can play my game with like a bit of a ruler, a 10-sided dice, and a business card. Why? Because gaming should be fun. Not like, this exclusive sweaty guys club. I'm a sweaty guy. I understand the sweaty guy thing, but don't be a dick. And unfortunately, too many geeks are dicks. So I got into the simple sword. I got into teaching people to sword fight. About a year after I'd been heavily learning, because the guy who was teaching me would split the group, and he'd have basically the rejects. He would be like, Nick, work through with the rejects. They're not worth my time. And they'd usually be people of color or ladies or people with disabilities, to which I'd politely flick him off behind his back and do everything in my power to help them find a way to fight, and then they'd win and I'd get in trouble. Well, I've been getting into trouble now for 20 years doing this, because I have this crazy idea that if folks have a dream or something, they want to do something that's fun, it should be entertaining. It should be obtainable. I'm not saying you aren't going to have to work for it, and I'm not going to say this will make you a master, because everybody who lies to people do. But I'm going to say I will give you the tools, whether it's gaming, whether it's sword fighting, this is the same approach. That's the back end for the Hybrids RPG. I wanted a rules light, fun, quick to grab system, and I didn't have to make the world because Luke Stone made an amazing world. And just this is what I hammer, accessibility, simplicity, adaptability, and that way people can look at this and have access to it. And then, I made this world with big stompy robots and cat chicks, and my phone just fell, and I don't care because I'm gesturing. And I'm like, hey, I'll write some novels. So I started writing little novellas. And I ended up with a war story, which is now buried because my stuff fell over, called Eyes to the Sky, where, I grew up around veterans. I wanted something where people could read that and, get an idea of that story while still enjoying it, and then have zombie mechs. Yeah, zombie mechs. And then at the end of it, I put the rules for my game so that you could actually play it by yourself and still have fun. It's crazy, and it's different, and it's very, very passionate. And that's the great thing about geekdom, I think, to paraphrase Simon Pegg, because I'm really bad at quoting, you can be passionate about what you're passionate about and express it without any loss of masculinity or perception. You can build on the passions. And if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it in a way where if somebody plays my game, they want to go play more complex systems, they can, because they've learned things in my game that build them to that. I talk about it a lot more with the Simple Sword when I'm talking about fencers, but the more you get into my stuff, the more you'll find my passion and my philosophy is always the same in whatever I'm doing. And I believe when you look at the hierarchy of people, the people who are really, skilled, take fencers, you've got like the gold medalist fencers way at the top. or the ones who win every tourney if you're in a recreation group, or your lordly guys that got all the titles. And the way that the whole gets better for some is they try to reach that peak higher, and that's great. That's beautiful. I love you for that. But that's not what I do. What I want to do is take the bottom of that triangle and move it up one notch. If everybody at the base is just a little bit better, or just a little bit happier, just, interlace the fingers and step, here, I'll boost you. Can't boost you far, but I'll get you higher than you are. And maybe you can find the next thing. And that's the passion that I bring to pretty much every project. And we live in an era where cool is the domain, where you want people to look aloof. I am not aloof. I care about people. I care about ideas. I care about history. I care about being able to care and not have it be perceived as weakness, because it's not. I'm going to tell you, it is a lot harder in this world to care and help folks, knowing you're going to get kicked in the teeth for doing it and then do it again tomorrow. So that's what I'm about. So, when you pick up the simple sword, you're not going to get some guy hammering at you about, this is the only way to do things, this is right. No, this is a system, and you can adapt it to what you need. One of my greatest prides, I have taught people with severe physical limitations how to sword fight. They can't move right. I have taught people with balance issues who've walked on canes, legally blind people to sword fight. It took a bell system, but we made it work. Suicide survivors, because you learn the sword. I learned the sword to deal with trauma because I had a lot of anger. I'm a laughable, goofy, fat, furry little man right now, but I wasn't always that way. And I had a lot of anger. Some bad things happened, and I needed something to build on. So I took up the sword and I kind of used that to carve away all that. And as soon as I realized it could be used that way, I'm like, hey, maybe other people can use it that way. And they shouldn't have to go through all the BS of looking at Italian translations and French translations and all this stuff when it could be simple. I'm like, simple sword. Hey, that sounds like a snazzy book title. And that's what I'm about. I'm about building people up. And it means that I get mud on my shoulders from people stepping on my face. But that's okay. And that's why I love Rising Tide. That's why I love everybody who's watching this. That's why I love Brian over here. Because instead of the usual just yelling at each other and self-aggrandizement, look at this man blush whenever I say something nice about him. It's like a perverse David the Gnome. He doesn't know how to process a compliment, I mean,
I'm getting better at it.
You are. And largely, I tried to inoculate you, just about every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, hey, Brian, remember, you're pretty awesome, too, No, my guests are awesome. I'm just
It's true. My guests are amazing.
No. See, don't you pull that back at me, who's fantastic? Sarah, Joe Bachman's fantastic, although he won't admit it. Now, granted, he has the good taste of doing wood-burnt versions of some of my art, so, I could get a little ego in there. But,
Yeah, I thought you said wood virgins for a moment. I was very intrigued.
I have known his wife a long time, and I'm pretty sure that was her status beforehand. And she has certain qualities. I love Trey dearly. I mean, we are the kind of friends where people are like, so, brother, sister, or or are we going to Alabama here? What's up? No. Her vision's too good. She would never know.
And Joe Dog, yes, I do need those clips.
Yes,
we do.
Absolutely.
And Michaela Jason.
Thank you.
Yes,
I am so glad because, I want writers don't need the annoying. I hate when you're reading a book and the author style is one way. So like you're reading someone who's writing very nice, like a Regency romance thing, and they try to put in a fencing scene, which is a great thing. And then they use terminology that, while scientifically accurate, completely like shatters, because half the readers aren't going to get it, but they don't want to be wrong, you know?
Yeah.
Or
But the
the
people
whole,
who do get it will notice and they'll resent it.
yeah, or that it's the whole, they hacked and slashed, swashed and buckled. And it's like, we're going to say every sword cliche in a row. Please don't. you know, I do have a minor editorial here that I was going to throw out. Guys, and this is all, I'm the guest, I can be off topic. If you're going to write a sword fight, are you talking to me or Cookie?
No, you.
Oh, okay. Just checking, because,
Take two.
These things happen. I heard yes here, and I felt the instinct time to hang my head in shame and do like dishes or something. Wow.
It's what's kept us alive, brother. It's what's kept us alive. By the way, Michaela J. did add, The Simple Sword has tons of great info for writers who write any kind of historical story. So, Nick, the floor is yours.
Thank you. What The Simple Sword does is it gives you something I've not found in any other manual. Because one of my talents is the ability to analyze an opponent. When I was a bit more physical, I'm dealing with some health issues. Hi, Rick Bradley. I could imitate 60 to 80% of nearly anyone I fought to someone else who was fighting later. So I could pick up their mannerisms, how they move, kind of chameleon it to analyze their style and teach somebody else. Granted, at times it meant me putting an actual ladder up in the middle of this field so I could run up it to get the angle to show them what was going wrong because I wasn't tall enough to pull it off. But what it does is it talks about different types of fighters. You got people who move like dancers. You have people who are aggressive, people who are defensive. And my point is, different people fight differently, and people from different cultures fight differently. So one of my greatest hangups in any media, that being TV, movies, literature, is when two people from two different cultures use the exact same fight choreography. It makes me want to rip my hair out. And when two people who are totally different kinds of people, their attitudes, their body types are depicted fighting the exact same style. Like 80s cop shows were great for this back in the day. Punch, duck, hit. Punch, duck, hit. I've done some fight choreography. It hurts my soul to see some of this. Or you'll be like, just stab them. Have you ever watched a sword fight movie where you're like, why doesn't he just stab them? Because they're fighting the swords. So since I have some of the best authors I know watching this in the rerun or whatever, one, you guys are great. Keep writing. Don't let this whole despair 2020, 21, etc. doom cloud hang over you. Work through it. If you have to stop, that's fine, but don't let it crush you. The people doing that, the negatives in this world, don't deserve that power. But if you're going to write. A sword fight is a dialogue, right? So if you imagine somebody from Texas talking to somebody from France, even if they're speaking English, it's a very different kind of English. A fight, be it a sword fight or hand-to-hand, is going to have essentially an accent to it from their background. So the best thing you can do is start, and this is a start. This gives you an idea of what to look through, and then you can look through other manuals, other fighting styles, watch things online, and go, "Oh, that's what they're doing. Oh, that's why they're moving that way," and it starts to make sense. So I think you guys can really benefit. That's why I put my book out. That's why I put most of my stuff free during this whole pandemic through Kindle Unlimited. That wasn't me trying to brush off money because I get a pittance, but it was the whole, we're suffering out here, folks, so we got to build each other up with whatever we have. And I got to keep producing because I've got a kid, and he's special needs, so he's going to need my legacy to help. I'm not a wealthy man, but what I do have is a lot of ideas, and I think they're good ideas. So if I can write them down, maybe it makes things better. Maybe it puts a future that can, feed back to him later. That's what I want out of life. I'm not looking to be rich, obviously. I wouldn't know what to do with it. But if I can help folks and get enough to read, my phone just started yelling at me. I can do that. And you guys are doing the same thing. Like right now, we are at war with despair. Don't ever hesitate that. Whatever your political leanings, while in another forum I would talk passionately on that subject, here it's not about that. And maybe that's a good thing. But whatever it is, there is a miasma of despair. And we who create, the authors, the artists, the guys who write comic books about, impossible heroes beating impossible odds and inspiring and uplifting and building the imaginations of people. That's what we're about, folks. And every one of us, even, Lacey Lemke's wrote horror, from what I've heard, that's spine-chilling. I love a good horror. I love creepypastas because that gives me somewhere to put the fear. You're walking around with existential dread. Read The Nightmare Collective. Read H.P. Lovecraft. Read, Sadistine has a bit more humor to it, but read something like that so you can take that fear and anxiety and put it somewhere. There we go. That's how it's done, my friend. Good old-fashioned callbacks, but use what we're doing, because it is a war. It is a war of ideas, a war of hope versus hate. And again, not politics, both sides, whatever, all sides. People have lost the ability, I think, for wonder. But people who know me know I love to go out on my front porch and take these big panoramic shots of the sunset. Do it almost any day my legs will let me. But that's because it brings me a sense of wonder. Even though it's every day. Every day that sun's going to drop down in the west. But every day it's different, a different color, a different story. And as long as you can embrace that, they can't take it all away from you, whatever the situation. And that's what we're about, folks. I mean, I understand despair. And I've helped people with despair. And that's one of my other quieter passions. I lost count. I lost count at over 150, but I've talked down in the course of about 15 years, 120 people at different points in my life from suicide. And some of them I've maintained great friendships. Some couldn't stand the sight of me because I was a reminder of their darkest hour. Sort of I don't want to say a priest without a church kind of thing, but that's kind of been my motif. It's been part of what I do. And as you can see, I can get a sermon going, Brother Loves Travel and Salvation Show. But, and I tell people that the Lord gave you two good hands. Because when you see your brother in need, you reach down to him because that's what it's there for. When you're in need, you reach up to the Lord because that's what it's there for. But my point being, I get it. And the only way we can fight, because we're all small, we're not Gandalf, we're barely Pippin, But that's what holds the evil at bay. That's what holds the sorrow at bay, is our capacity to just, because the average person, when you pull away, when you get them to talk about what they think, what they believe, what they feel, what they want, it really is simple. The vast majority of people want family and home, and they have some small or great passion, whatever it is. They have their thing, and they want a little bit of that, and that's really not that much. But the universe, it seems, tries to complicate it. It's like they're monsters screaming in our ears that you can't have that or all this. And when you stop and look at the human condition, and I've studied religion across vast swaths and philosophy across vast swaths, and it almost all distills to don't do something bad. Like, don't do something you don't want done to you. Well, there's a side effect that I hold to. And, it is the difference between my philosophy from others is do what you'd want done. Because if you hold to the do what you will but don't hurt anybody, If somebody's on fire, you don't have to cross the street. You can just keep walking. But if you do hold to the idea, and I'm not talking religion, I'm talking an idea, that if do for people what you want, what you'd want done for you, then you're going to cross the street and put out that fire if you're at all honest with yourself. You know, you're going to be like dumping water. Dude, are you okay? And, you know, one of the guiding things in what I do when I write my stories or I make things is I want to be the person I didn't have. You know, I want to be the person people like me may not have. And if I can't, maybe I can inspire, because like I said, I'm a little dude. I'm not going to be George Lucas. I might not even be like Brian K. Morris scale, but I can, if I help one person, that's one more person that would have been helped. And if it takes me 15 years to help the next person, then hey, that's two people. And time, guys, we got to stop thinking like we're machines producing output. It took me 15 years and like 30 rewrites to get this in this condition. And there were still typos. But, that happens. You do it, and then when it's done, it's done. And I really believe that work is more important than the worker. That's why I'll joke, and once in a while I'll pop up like, yeah, I'm pretty great. I'm not great. I can't find my socks in the morning. This is why I bless my life among women and men and anything in between, because I could not function after 20 years of having her in my life and 18 married. This weekend at some point. Not that I don't know the date, it's that I won't remember what day it falls on. That's the go. But because I was smart, smart Nick had us get married the same day we first started dating, so I'd only have one date to remember. So I remember the date. That's a long-term win, guys. I don't know much about dating. I didn't date much. But brother, I know a lot about the long-term grind through marriage, and it's worth every moment, even though it feels like it's agonizing sometimes. And you know what? While we're talking, guys, writers, since you're all writers here who are watching, assuming anyone hasn't just flaked off, like, what is this guy? What is he on? And where can I get some? No, but write more marriages that work, please. Like, there's a show called White Collar. Absolutely adore it because they have a marriage, okay? And they have problems, but they stay married. They're happy. It's believable as, the dramedies of the early aughts can be, but it's really great. It has nothing to do with how incredibly attractive Tiffany Thiessen is, but it helps. But friends, don't be afraid. Don't write marriages as a trope to, I'm making them get married so that they can fail, so drama. Come on, quit shortchanging that. I'm sorry. All over the board tonight, even for me. But, yeah, build each other up. Be honest, be kind. Wash your damn hands. No, I'm kidding.
He's smart.
I
love your heart, man. I love you, man. I seriously love your passion, dude. That's why you're on tonight.
Well, and you know what? That's why I'm here, and that's why I love doing what I do. You look at, there may be a secret meeting between myself and the great and mighty Luke Stone at some point in the near future. I may or may not know about, a hidden cabal of things. But, when he handed me, here's the universe, I'll send you some files, see if you can make a game. And I'm like, holy, look at this. It's interesting, flawed characters who are believable. And it's like, if you're writing superheroes, the hero part should come before the super. It's I hate to say it because Brian's here, but that's why I have trouble with the writing for Superman sometimes.
No,
because it's like the super overwhelms the man part. That's why I tend to like. It's shocking that I would like Captain America. The little guy with the big mouth who's like, I could do this all day. Yeah, no, got nothing. I got beaten to a concussion because I wouldn't say I don't like black people. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean,
No, if
no,
you want to read good Superman, read the Rebirth stuff, because it was all about his relationship with his wife, Lois Lane, who had her own career, and they're raising a son who is developing superpowers. And
see, that's great.
yeah, it's brilliant stuff. Any of the Peter J. Tomasi work, I would definitely recommend to you. I think you would really love it. I really do.
I'll look into it because, like,
Yeah.
comic wise, because so much comic is interest here. Because I was broke, I read what was on the clearance section, which ironically was a lot of the more independent stuff that wouldn't move right away.
Right.
So, like, Gen 13. Basically, I fell in love with J. Scott Campbell's work, and Danger Girl is still the Danger Girl volume with the intro by Bruce Campbell is one of the finest comic books I've ever read, just because it's fun. Like, I mean, the characters are all well written, and there's wit, and there's escapism. I'm not the grimdark guy. That might surprise you, you know. Which is funny, because I always end up putting horror in my books. I don't try. Like, I'm going to write a noir thing. Cool. Yeah, this is great. I'm going to write this noir kind of, you know, guy in the wrong place at the right time, a little bit of corporate intrigue, and suddenly a city block rises up, you know, powered by a pedophilic, you know, severed head that's trying to chase down a character. And, you know, you too can read Small Arms on Amazon, you know. I don't normally give that away, but on this channel, I'm going to give you some of the really weird things that happen in that book. Or, you know, I'm writing, when I wrote Eyes to the Sky, really, you know, it starts off with this really neat kind of, you know, paranoid war story, and it then out of nowhere, you know, well, not out of nowhere, I laid the groundwork. It's not like it's poorly written, dang it. But, you get essentially infectious zombie mechs. Because I realized there aren't enough infectious zombie mechs. Like, zombie mechs from outer space is not a thing I've seen enough of. And then I made the rule set. And it's funny because I mentioned Joe's wife. Her name's Trelena. Brilliant woman. I'm trying to get her to write and publish. I'll keep hounding her, and then I'll front her your way. Brilliant woman. We're sitting in art. Yeah. I do that a lot. A lot of people coming here, I'm like, right, dang it, I told you. But I will hurt you until you realize you're awesome. You know,
way to motivate.
You know, it's positive. You are great. No, you're great. Great.
Each Bruce says, "I love you."
Yeah, you know. You know, nothing says love like an elbow drop. But
yeah.
But, you know, I'm sitting here, and at the end, I'm like, we play Big Stompy Robots. I figured out a way, I think, to make it where you can play yourself, and, you know, you roll the dice to decide what the zombie mechs do. Cool, let's give it a try. So we're sitting here at this little card table, as usual, leaning over paper foldies and, you know, handmade wooden mecha and all these other things. And we start getting scared. Like, we're playing and we're losing our dudes, and our dudes are turning into zombies against us. We're trying to do the math to figure out if we can pull this off. And I look at her, and we're literally sweating, leaned over this table like, oh my God, I've got something here. Like, Vincent Price descends from on high or raises from the, you know, abyss, and is just like, whoa. You know? I just feel like I dumped my evil wife in an acid pit. This is a good game.
Oh God!
Yeah, I'm going for that popular House on Haunted Hill reference. You know,
Yes, you are.
I'm tapped into the modern mainstream, man. You can tell that's just the Pulse, 56? Yeah, baby.
Something like that. Yeah, that's the year I was born.
Oh, great year for cars. Anyway, I'm sorry, but
everyone should have this kind of passion about what they do, man. Seriously, everybody should get this fired up. I am not joking when I say that.
Well, I appreciate because, like, I understand life is short, and I know people get in this whole. I've watched them where it dawns on them, life is short, and I had nearly died a lot because when I was little, I read the poem by Robert Frost about two paths in the woods, and I always would try to take the other path. And if you go down that snake long enough, you get into places and things. And sometimes it's cool. Sometimes you're in a jazz club in Chicago and you're looking at your buddy going, hey, where's Waldo? You know what I mean? Or, I'm hanging off the edge of a cliff by a chain in Thunder Bay, Canada, looking at cave gods of the Lake Mishipeshu, the cave deity, the lake monster god that made the waves. Like, this is awesome. Hey, Benjamin Jadalik Starkey, and a picture of his wife. Two of my favorite people on the planet. He runs Arcticon, and he's making a game that I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about because he's been working on it, but it's very good. Very complex, but very good. It's far better than anything we play tested together. Sarah says, I think Nicholas is so hyper he can probably feel his hair growing. I actually feel it receding because the awesomeness when I'm in this mood just burns away my hairline back a bit. But I have more hair than my brothers who are both tall, skinny, and good looking, so they can suck it. Then how's my...
And
what is... See, City Cat knows I love a good pun. And
my God, she's a fountain of them. She's a fountain of them.
Oh, she's a fountain of everything. Woo! Yes. I am passionate. When I get people passionate, passion is contagious. And I'm tired of like lukewarm. I'm tired of cool, aloof. Absolute respect. I don't even know what you're respecting, but I'll respect it too because I know you're awesome and I have faith in you, Lacey. But passion, you gotta like fire up. I wear out office chairs because I'm like, yeah, let's do this thing, Like, I may not be involved in your sports ball scenario, but I'll be watching, I'll be playing Halo with my wife or something. Like, yeah, she's doing better than I am. That's okay. I'm comfortable with sucking at things. You can enjoy stuff and still not be good at it, guys. Draw anyway. Draw anyway, please. What movie do I like most for swordplay? Okay, that's a very good question. It's one of my favorites. There is only one proper answer. That is The Princess Bride. The Wesley versus Indigo fight is the finest fight scene ever. I will put following that. There is a version of the Count of Monte Cristo, speech impediment, and that word do not like each other. So I always order the sandwich every time I mention the book. But absolute finest. And believe it or not, in season, I can't remember if it's in Rebels or if it's in season 5 of the Clone Wars, but I think it's in Star Wars Rebels, is the final fight between Darth Maul and Obi-Wan Kenobi. And bit of spoilers, it's on Tatooine to give you a time frame of when. And I've had people really get funny because it is not what you expect, But it's one of the finest choreographed fights because they get it. Very few people. It's easy to write sword fight movies about young athletic superheroes with wire fu. Everybody writes sword fight movies about young athletic superheroes with wire fu. And I'm all about it. Don't get me wrong, especially if it involves Scarlett Johansson. I will drop my dime and watch that every time. But understand that old guys, people with injuries, people who aren't as strong fight differently. They don't do stupid stuff. They're going to do the thing. There used to be an old joke about don't mess with a little guy, he's liable to kill you. because when you take the attitude, most superheroes and honestly most men depicted in media are all over 6 foot tall, or they don't have any value. They're all ripped, or they have to be comedic. And really, it's funny. My dad ran the computers basically for the VA Lakeside in Chicago. And he's a disabled Vietnam veteran. I've spent my life around dangerous men, and this is something that gets forgotten. And no, my upbringing is I was always around potentially dangerous people. And I didn't join their ranks because I have one leg shorter than the other, so I am just a fat, happy civilian against stolen valor. But I've been around dangerous people, and they don't look like that. I love Soups, but they don't look like Soups, and they don't look like Bats. They look more like Whistler. Hey, okay, Jeffrey, hey, Nick, how did you get into gaming and game design? Great set of stories. I got into gaming during the Satanic Panic because, like I've said before, I was a poor kid. And I was walking down the street, and the book from I told you I need this, Ron. The book from the new, easier-to-learn, improved D&D with the Ugly Dragon. This book, but not a laminated version, was alongside the road. And I got it, and I fell in love, but it only goes to level 5. So as a 8-year-old, I was like, okay, we'll just figure out the math to keep it going. And so I did that. And I used to read this thing called the Reaper Casket Works catalog. It was Reaper Miniatures free catalog. And they'd have all these beautiful minis, and the fantasy art by somebody named Talon, who, really heavily influenced my art. And in the back were the Cav line of mechs, big, beefy, assault walkers. And I couldn't afford things like that. But every 4th of July, the neighborhood would go nuts, and we'd get covered in these little wooden square sticks from the fireworks. So being who I was, I would save them all up and glue them together and make my own minis. And I actually still make handmade wooden minis, and I sell them at conventions. But, I needed rules. So what I did is I came up with a system that I could play with anybody fast called Big Stompy Robots. And I was involved. I applied to. I was the last application pending to the Black Lightning demo squad for Reaper Cav minis before they canceled the program. And I had been playing games like that for years. BattleTech is probably something more familiar to you. And I loved them, but I hated how complex they were. And old school D&D I love. The newer systems, they get very complex, and that acts as a gate. You have to be able to work through this complexity to have fun. And then there are these long rule debates. So I wanted to make a system where there weren't that many rules to work with. And I did. And I made the original Big Stompy Robots Quick Play, which printed out comfortably is on a sheet of paper. But if you know what a data card looks like, you can play it with a few pieces and a business card. It's a point of pride with me because I love it. So, you play with the math a little bit. And I am the least math guy you would think, but statistics kind of make sense. And you get to know how likely things are. And you ask any D&D player, any RPG guy, you're going to find you get an idea. So I made a really rules light system, and I loved it. And then people wanted more units, so I made more units. And that's called crunch in the industry. Crunch is the mechanical system. Crunch is what I'm doing for hybrids, at least at this stage. I may get more into the fluff. Hi, I say hybrids, and the amazing Luke Stone graces us with his presence. But to answer it, well, wonderful. Thank you, Joe Dog. I made the crunch, which is the mechanics, and then I started making fluff to build the world around why these big stompy robots are blowing up my tabletop. And it's fun. And then I'm like, well, we'll make it cheap so that poor kids like I was can afford it. And 1 second, sorry. Oh, CityCap says, "What's the ratio of a pumpkin circumference to its diameter?" Pumpkin pie. I appreciate that both as a pun and as my stomach. Absolutely, Cindy. Cindy kept asking me, for the people listening, does weaponry experience factor into your fiction and gaming work? Absolutely, especially there's a game I don't talk about as much. In part because I've recently put so much. It's called Melee. I used to be a medieval reenactor or recreationist. Obviously, that's how I got into the sword things. And as I was already a game designer, I wanted to be able to run simulations based on the rough abilities of people I know. So, being that I can have a knack for kind of Sherlocking as a verb, I don't know if anyone else uses it that way, but I would Sherlock my way into, okay, they're roughly this good at this, make a framework and then make a game so that I could run simulations to see what kind of strategies would work. I think I'm breaking Brian in the background, and that's okay. That or I'm letting him get a chance to get Covfefe. But or wine. He might need wine after dealing with me all this time, but that's okay. This has got to be fun. Yes. Oh, that is such a good book. The Haunting Scripts of Bachelor's Grove is a good book, but it would take me being physically subdued to get me into that place because I used to do paranormal. Yeah, I get it. The manatee is strong with you. What you're doing is what I do to you every morning. This will be avenged.
You're on a roll, brother. I'm letting you take over, dude. We're so far behind it. I don't care. But we have some questions.
What? I will take
more questions. We have more questions.
Yeah, please.
Okay, well, here's one, Nick. Nick, when you're creating an RPG, where do you start? Mechanics, world setting, or character types? And before you answer, I do want to say that a few months ago, Luke Stone and I did do an initial playtest of Hybrids, the Sons of Gods RPG, and it is one of the most intuitive systems I have ever played. And I'm an old school gamer. I've been playing like tabletop RPGs since the early mid '80s. So Champions, Hackmaster, D&D, Call of Cthulhu, things like that. So just being able to sit down and just slide right into the adventure without worrying about complex mechanics was a joy. So anyway, Rick Bradley has a question here. Glad you're here, Rick. So
first off, Brian just got the Fat Guy Happy Dance out of me. Secondly, when I'm creating an RPG, okay, it's funny because I usually don't have a choice. Usually I'm like reading something or I'm writing a story, and sometimes as an author, sometimes I'm not sure how that fight's gonna go. Yeah, I mean, I hate to say it, but sometimes, especially when it's one that could go either way plot-wise, you need to figure it out. So I'll sit back and I'll just, honest to God, crank out like a page worth of rough drawn rules, or use something like the system. There's I have a system similar to what I use for hybrids. It's a little more simplified for when I'm doing system like this. It's basically speed D&D, but that way I can sort stuff out. But when you're going to do it, first you have to think, it's not even the setting. It's like the proto. You have to understand the mood and the kind of game. Is it going to be a beer and pretzels? Oh, we're burning, like Big Stumpy Robots is very much what people call a beer and pretzels kind of game. It was designed to burn time at like Starbucks originally while you're waiting. Fast, loose, go. So if it's that, your rules are going to be light. You decide what your base is. Is it a base D20, which is 5 percentile? It sounds complicated, but it gets real simple. Is it a D6 you want to kind of roll, or 2 D6s, something like that? Usually that's where it goes. I'm a big fan of D10s. I like percentages because they're even easier than 20s to think in. But you set that mechanic, and then you build a world. And you have to decide, is the world going to be balanced, or is it going to be imbalanced? What I mean is if I'm using something like Big Stompy Robots as a tactic system, which can be an RPG, that approach is coming later. It got sidelined for the Hybrids RPG. I'm doing something else with Big Stompy Robots, which will be a more macro vision. But is it what's the intent? Now, if it's a very precise, in-depth thinking game, then you need to really break down the rules. And the environment will tell you. And a lot of times, as soon as you understand the setting of the story, you understand the characters that are they just sort of pop up. You build the world, you build it and they come. Because there's a oddly practical, okay, why are there so many Dungeons and Dragons? Well, if you're somebody who's little and you look up and there's a flying engine of destruction breathing fire all over the place, digging a hole like a drunken meerkat makes a lot of sense. But that's a logic, and we've accepted it's there without actually stopping and going, hey, that actually makes sense. So you want that logic. And then you have to go, what are you doing? Are you telling a person's story? So if I'm writing a story about an individual, which I have done, you have the hero's journey or the progression of the chain of events or what you know is going to happen, and then how things interact will become very mechanical. But I find making the character types to be the funnest once you have a world set up, even an idea. Big Stompy Robots was partially born in a need to fill a gap. I wanted a fast, easy to play game. And one of the first things I decided is no matter what would happen, I did not want to deal with flying units. As a gamer, as a tactics gamer, I hate flying units. So one of the first things that happened is I decided that planet had been bombarded from orbit. And what it did is it magnetized the substrata, all the metals and stuff that were unmined had been magnetized, and it screwed up all their computers. So flying was impossible because of the incredibly erratic air problems. And I'm like, problem solved. And then I'm like, well, now what else does that do? And you start going down the road of what does this decision cause? And it's really neat because if you do it right, as the writer, you're almost walking in your world, watching it sort of load in as it happens, Because you're like, okay, well, that's a lot of EMF. That's going to goof up aiming systems so that I have drift rules. It's an organic process. I don't like... There's some people who like flow chart it and da-da-da-da. And there's a time mechanically for that. And I actually have a flow chart of my next game level of Big Stompy Robots. It's on a little file hidden away so no one steals it. But it should always be interesting to you. Like, the old, if you build it, they will come. If you want people to come to your baseball field, you better love baseball. Baseball better be in your blood. You better be passionate about it and understand it and really deep dive it. So when you're building a game, you have to put yourself I am not a player in my game. I am the character walking in that world. And then you just codify the rules. I don't know if that answers your question, but that's kind of my approach. I don't want. Let's see.
Well, and having said the thing about aerial combat, Michaela Jade has a question about aerial combat for you. Serious question. My main characters have wings. Any special fighting techniques or suggestions?
Absolutely. Believe it or not, I've had in-depth, lengthy conversations with the brilliant Cindy Kep about griffin-mounted combat, and I may have done a video on that subject. If not, I'll redo it. But when a character has wings, depending on the nature of those wings and how sturdy they are, it sounds silly, but think of them like World War I bombers, okay? During World War I, it was flight, but it was low. It was passionate. They could see who they were chucking their potato mashers at. Bombs were holding out and drop, and it seems comical now. but that level of intimacy is completely lost in modern combat, usually aeronautics. So for the person who is flying, the goal is always to be going fast and going high. That is safe. So they're going to think in terms of projectiles, explosives, flaming oil. It depends on the setting. Aerial one-on-one melee combat is dramatic, but it's really difficult because you're going to want light slashing weapons that have some type of retention. I love Star Wars, for example, but I wish someone would have taught the Jedi the secret science of having a lanyard. Like for all their stuff, if they had a string that tied their lightsaber to their wrist, or maybe farther, because they have wrist problems. But you want to think in terms and think practically about it. For a flying character, your weapon can't entangle unless you're planning to disturb it. So you're going to probably lean more toward curved swords, or a blunt mace even would be better a la Hawk Girl than like a straight stabbing sword, because that's more likely to tangle. If you're opposing flying targets, which again, Cindy and I got into all sorts, you're going to be looking at really, before I go any further, you have to decide how kind of visceral your setting is. Because you wouldn't want to put in a kid's book necessarily a fishing net with weights on the end and fishing hooks interwoven so that it wraps around, tangles, and disables somebody flying over when you chuck it up. It would be visceral, it would be bloody, it would be glorious, but it wouldn't be necessarily setting.
Also, when you wouldn't have swords either too much, because wouldn't there be, depending on the construction of your wings, you might stab yourself while in flight.
Well, depending on the wings, shorter swords would be fairly controllable. So what you would want is... Okay, hold on. Anyway, you'd want something like a cutlass. Pirates used cutlasses. This is my desk, so we have them. Which, let me try and get... Okay, here we go. Range. I'm working with half my screen, so it's difficult. Okay, cool. Thank you. You want a short weapon that's not likely to entangle you too much, that has a very positive grip. This locks into my hand. I can do all sorts of dinky things with this, whipping around, whatever, and not lose it. Retention is already a good thing, but it's not necessarily a soul impaling weapon like a rapier is, or even an arming sword. You definitely don't want to go the two-handed arming sword that would wield, because you don't want to sever your own wings. I am a huge fan of the boar spear, which my boar spear is not handy, but I do have... Okay, this is basically a war scythe. It would be straighter, but it got dinged up. Something with some reach. Whoa, just hit my ceiling fan. Anyway, because you want to be able to attack them without. Now, something like this, especially wing on wing, this would have the inner edge is sharp, so you can run a chance of essentially severing the wings of your opponent. That would be wickedly nasty. And when you're thinking of these kinds of terms, they usually are. Another weapon that might work well, would be something like a kukri. Again, you want that fast chopping motion that you can easily control. Against them, our good friend the boar spear, which basically... Wait, let me... 1 sec. Looks like one of these, but on a big old pole. It's got a bit of a fin. The spear stabs, but it can't slide down it, so you don't over-penetrate. A lot of times when you're fighting something in a fantasy setting, especially as a person, you're dealing with something that's much stronger, more powerful, more aggressive, and possibly regenerative than you. Your werewolves, your vampires, things like that. So your good buddy, the boar spear, really comes into play. So you have to break down the tactics and the attitudes of the combatants. Let's see. Axes are okay. See, I don't like... What do you call large colorful pile of leaves, great barrier leaf. Diversionary weapons, actually, like leaves or anything, pocket sand would be really bad to do to flying opponents. But warhammers are great, but the weight would really throw off the flight mechanics unless you're either powered flight like a jetpack that wouldn't care, or you're really, really beastly. So I don't know if that helps. It's one of those I'd have to deep dive more into the mechanics of your world.
But I think if you had a problem with it, Michaela, you could probably contact Nick and get his feedback on it.
And if you want something like this, every Friday I basically do this great thing, and I love taking questions that I can just. That's why I didn't put anything special around my computer for talking with Brian today. This is literally the normal stuff. I mean, everybody has daggers and axes and mini bucklers and swords and machetes and Knifey, my co-host. But yeah, let's get crazy. I'm all about it. You know what? Every Friday I wonder how things are going on the Drunken Rat, because I made a solemn promise to my guild members and the people who are watching as guys, as long as this is going on, I'm going to be here for you. Now, I have been on sick as a dog. Like, hold on, I'm just going to, not, the unspeakable cough, but, just ate the wrong thing or whatever. That's fine. I've had ones where it's like, give me a second, get sick, come back on. Fortunate, muted it so no one heard. We're good to go. Because we need more light. And if I have to, I have a bad habit, but a beneficial. I'll light myself on fire to brighten up a room. That's what it takes. But, so, yeah.
Maybe you guys can do a simulcast. Lacey Lemke says, back before COVID, in the long, long ago when there were cons, that was super fun. They'll come back. They got to come back. Had a few happen this year, but it's going to be, the quote unquote new normal. And here we go. Bill Sarton says, it appears that Nicholas Anthony Tockert is being held prisoner in a plastic bag. My question is, what kind of gas are they pumping in that bag with him?
Okay, I am not currently being gassed, and if I am, I'm just going to have to rely on Batman and Robin from stately Wayne Manor to come, walking up my rather short wall and kick in the window. I have faith that they'll be there if I need them, because Adam West would come down. But actually, behind me is the back wall of my study, and it has a painting of some of my family members. Very early on, I had a little tapestry I got on at a yard sale of a musketeer by some wine barrels, typical stuff. And YouTube actually tried to give me a copyright strike because they thought I was using the image without permission. And I'm like, it's a 70s era, push. There's no way to find out who made this. So being broke, I improvised this. I am in the market for a new backdrop, I will admit that. But yeah, so this is my lovely. This was actually free with any purchase at Harbor Freight. I think it cost 25 cents because I had to buy a click knife to get the thing. But, it gets me through. If you have suggestions, requests, ideas, I will always take them into advisement. Well, yeah. You got to refill the joy juice, metaphysically or metaphorically or whatever.
Yes, and
I can't drink, so I have caffeine.
There we go, and he's overcompensating for something. And Willow, Skylar, and Andy, Shaggy, Courtney, good to have you know. Good to know that you guys are sharing this video. Please share this video so that everyone can get a little taste of it.
Yeah, you guys, it's too serious. You need some insanity. And if there's one thing I have in just loads, is insanity. Good idea. Well, if you're saying it's a good idea. I'm not sure what it is, but I'm sure if you're saying
I just put that in there because it was a good idea.
Oh, okay. Yes, absolutely. Are you focused on West? Oh, no, absolutely not. That's why I say the Historical Fencing Guild. You see, I formed the guild to be a place where anybody could come together as a Rosetta Stone. So, like, if you look, there's a very popular web page on YouTube. A YouTuber goes by the handle of Sword Sage, and I have to remember not to say his real name out of courtesy. So that's why you're seeing the double stutter here. We have a long history, and he and I go way back. And he's a Jin, Bagua, Long Fist, Wing Chun. He's where I fell, actually, because of him, I fell in love with a style called Wing Chun Long Pole, which is basically how to fight with a 12-foot long push rod for a barge. And that's one of the styles I picked up because, I was talking with him and I looked it up and I realized it's fencing with like steroids and it's glorious and it's fun. So I picked that up. But we would spar almost, when he lived near me a couple times a week, and it would be I've learned a new style from so-and-so. Cool, let's play. And the first time it'd be slow. The second time I'd let him go fast and we'd go. And then it would be, okay, now I'll resist you. Let's see if it works. And just great fun. But no, I love pretty much all styles. When we had practices going, we'd have Krav Maga guys sparring with Olympic fencers and SCA heavy fighters with like Psi fighters and Tai. I used to do a bunch of Tai Chi. I trained with a guy by the name of John Miner. City's heard a lot about John. And we played so many styles I've lost track. He'd do Hapkido. I never got into the where the gi and all that. I couldn't afford to. I got to learn from people who'd share in the backyard. So it's a very strange approach. That and CPI, being crisis prevention and intervention, because I did that for many years with mentally and physically handicapped people with extreme behavior issues. I got very versed in a very narrow set of hand-to-hand things because it was how to disarm and protect yourself without hurting anybody. And that kind of crossed over. I will say I tend to like softer arts versus harder arts, meaning I'm not a karate guy. I'm more into the kung fu offset sets that I play with. I don't like flail weapons, so I'm not a nunchuck guy. But actually, I had to do a whole video. Was it with you about size versus parry daggers? I think it actually was what Cindy kept discussed. Because there's a difference in how size work versus parry daggers and how to make them go. And what she wanted, yeah, that's right. She wanted a really, oh God, I don't know if I can talk about that. She asked me for some advice on some really cool fight choreography from one of her books, but I'm not even going to risk skating into spoiler territory. But yes, how do leaves get from one place to place? Automobiles.
Thank you, Cindy. Joe Dog McKeel has a question. Brian, ask this guy what he's doing this Thursday at 9 p.m. I have an energy outlet for him.
Launch
that conversation.
No. I had to look because this is my anniversary weekend. Thursday is involving vacation time, so contact me like directly, Joe Dog, because I have to confirm with the wife who knows all things. I'm as much as any other week I'd be like, yeah, let's do this. I'm all about entertaining, but I don't want to die. And like that way, I tell people there are three things in the universe I'm scared of. Only three: my God, my government, and my wife, because they can make life worse than death.
I wouldn't know anything about that.
Yeah, see, long-term marriage. So yeah, honestly, if not this Thursday, you let me know, because I love talking about the stuff. I love building people up. I love entertaining. And I am terrible at making money. Joy juice under the sheets.
Thank you, Sarah.
Well, you see, the other thing is, the reason I'm such a caffeinated guy is I've always been the DD in my friend groups. So while the more they knock back, you know, I ran with medievalists. They brewed their own stuff. This stuff could literally peel the paint off the walls in some places. But wow. Sorry, Trev. I just piled. Did you watch me implode on that joke? Well done. What season makes Adam and Eve sad? The fall.
Thank you, Trevor Hawkins.
Well done. Oh, Degrassi and a height. Oh.
Cindy Cap has a question here. As we've discussed,
Cindy
I've studied
Cap-
Degrassi and a highly mutated Destreza. I know I've mispronounced that. Destreza?
Actually, you're very close. Destreza is. What's your favorite instructional source? All right. Because I'm a hybrid, and this actually goes back to your things. For Destreza, Maestro Ramirez did a series there for Palpable Hit Productions, and I can't believe I lost his name. He's one of my favorite sword masters and authors, and it's going to come back to me later. But he did a series of DVDs that were very expensive. They're about $70 a piece, but I actually bought them to learn the style. And it's fascinating stuff. The translations of Thibault are great. For Spanish, my absolute favorite historical manual is Into the Soleil. It's a translation by Tom Leone of Gigante. Nicola Gigante. Amazing, very practical fighter. So for your Italian Venetian, it's about $20. You can't ask for more than that. I actually started. There was a mishap with a fan of Mr. Leone's, because a friend of mine was taking Italian and had translated the book, and I was teaching out of his translation, and he thought I was giving out copies. It was a whole to do, but so that's part of why I always plug Tom's book, because Tom's was better than his. Once it all worked out, but for Eastern styles, especially the Jin, I would really say, or the Tao, I would look into Dr. Yang Jwing-Ming's the fundamental sword, the foundations of the sword. He has an entire academy preserving, and he almost single-handedly helped rebuild the Chinese heritage of instructing swordplay after the communists really suppressed it, and they tried to kill Chinese martial arts because they were bordering on a religious part of the culture. So it ran opposed, and then later they embraced it and then forced them to fight with something called wushu steel, which is about the most vile thing someone can leave in their mouth, because the swords all go like this. But so Dr. Yang, Y-A-N-G, Jing, J-I-M, Jing, J-I-N-G -M-I-N-G, which sounds made up, but it's not. That's amazing. You can find a lot of his work. And when in doubt, you can always go to the Simple Sword and watch my channel for the condensed, simplified version of how to sword fight. Sorry. I almost got the swipe back.
And Trevor's caught Kep syndrome. We'll be having a telethon for it later. And speaking of,
if you can give a cent to those of us who've caught Kep syndrome, who are suffering the punishment of pontification, please give what you can. The children are crying. Okay, City Kep says, what do you call a tree that doubts autumn? Disbelief. Yes.
Yes, and Lacey Lemke has a very good observation here. Libraries are amazing. I used to spend a lot of time at the Carnegie Library when I lived in Marion. That's one thing. The Midwest is like rife with the Carnegie Library.
Earl Park is the Carnegie. I absolutely adore. Yeah. That's part of the problem, because it's such a small, and we can't build on it because it's a historic building. So maintaining the collection and not getting burdened by Oh, frickin' Peterson. Anyway, sorry. There's so many of his books floating out there. It's just the bane of my existence as a librarian. I'm going to stop before I get in trouble. But yeah, Carnegie libraries are great. They have a history. They have a connection, and it's almost, I believe, energy's build up. Like the longer places here, people will put this in when they're looking into hauntings and stuff, but it goes positive too. You go into that, and a library, the old libraries feel welcoming, and there's that. It's almost the tangible feel of knowledge in the air. I live for that stuff because it's yeah. I'm the guy who you sniff and you smell the vanilla breakdown of the old books. And, oh, I love it. Or you lick the spines of new books.
Yeah, there's a warmth to the Carnegie design. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and it's they're pre-air conditioning, they're pre or limited electric light, so the windows are both comforting, but they took the time to make sure they're not glaring. Really, just it's an art form we've lost inside of modernism, which I have mixed feelings on.
That's true. And Cindy says, when he did grow on trees, autumn would be the best season ever. And Lil Skylar says, my show is all about the innuendos. That's why I'm glad to be there this coming Thursday with author Michaela Jade. Cindy Kemp asks, movies that get ecology wrong irritate me because of my educational background. Do movies that get it wrong with a sword to annoy you? I bet I know the answer, and can you give us a good example, Nick?
Okay, before I caveat, I've actually gotten in trouble extensively on a radio show about this very subject. I do love Star Wars, and I do love Ray Park. Ray Park is one of my favorite martial artists. But I have problems with lightsaber fighting in general, because what makes it so fun to watch as being swooshy, any sword fight where they jump in the air, spin, and expose their back hurts. It like burns down my throat and sets fire to what's left of my blackened husk of a heart. And it's just like, stab him in the face. I don't know how many swords were like, oh, we're going to bind him. I'm like, punch him, do something. Don't. Sorry. I mean, like, see, you guys don't know this, but folks who watch my show know I'm a little more interactive. I need your sword. Okay. What I mean is, I'm arming you. This has never happened on Clever Title Pending. Welcome to the wonderful world of Nick. You have a sword. I have a little dagger because it's all that can fit. If we are here and you aren't stabbing me in the throat, something is wrong in the world. If we're going, arg, arg, and you're not at some point running me through, now, the most painful one of these, the most painful version of this, I grew up, I mentioned to Brian before the show started, I could only watch PBS and like Channel 38, which was a Christian channel, when I was growing up. I was a latchkey kid, those were the rules, and I was goofy enough to follow them mostly. We won't talk about the 80s X-Men cartoon, but they ran the classic Zorro. And I love classic Zorro, and I love classic Errol Flynn. Till I started studying swords, and I realized you don't fence swishy pokey with a great sword. Drives me nuts. But so yes, when people have questions about swords, very often, because this is one of those I made to prove. Here we go. I designed this. This is made out of actually cutting board. Because I designed this, right, and this runs for $44. I love Purple Heart Armory. They're out of Texas. It's an American sword making company, but I'm poor. I got this because I helped design it. This one, which I made out of I paid 30 some odd bucks with shipping and handling for an industrial cutting board that I made like 8 other swords and daggers and things out of, because I realized it's just HGP. Knifey, my co-host, sometimes was made out of the same batter. So, yeah.
Well, here's something that'll calm you down. Deep cleansing breath. And another swig of Kickapoo Joy Juice. And Lacey Lemke says, Xander is such a sweetheart. I love playing with the crafts with him. He is
my son. Kid. My son is my absolute world. I joke that I am the world's busiest stay-at-home dad, but we went through a lot of difficulties with the schooling, and I saw stuff that, because of my background, I knew was wrong. And it was incredibly traumatic and difficult. And I catch a lot of flack. Now that I'm working at the library a few hours a week, a lot of it goes away. But the dad staying at home. Well, folks, if we went through the proper channels, we'd have the privilege of paying $1,200 to somebody whose resume for dealing with special needs people is not as good as mine. So why would I work to pay for somebody to raise my kid who wasn't as good mechanically as I am? And he is the joy. And when things get bad and dark, and they do, he is as effervescent as I am when I'm turned on like this, and just light the fire of my soul. I'm equally, I'll get quiet and sedate and a different kind of thing. And he's I tell them almost every night they're my world, and they are. And it's terrifying what I have done and what I would do for my son. And he is amazing, and he is special needs. He's autistic, and he has some delay in a few other things. And the way he was treated was wrong. And I stopped that. And I both took, like I said, I have in my past been an angry person. I'm not anymore, because I learned to deal with that aspect. But the capacity, the most terrifying thing is when moral right and the anger we contain both agree. Like, they say there's the two dogs in you, the white dog and the black dog, and the one you feed is the one that wins. When both those dogs agree in something, it's a kind of madness. And that's what love is. Love is a madness. Parental love, paternal love, emotive love, whatever love you're talking about, it's a madness, and it's glorious. But I would burn heaven and earth if that's what it took for my son, And he is just radiant. I'm sorry.
Don't be. It's an honest moment, man. Honest love. That's what we love to see. Speaking of love, Trevor Hawkins says, loving the joke, Cindy. And she says, yay. And
if you don't follow this person, if you don't go to CKOEPP.com and follow her newsletter, I don't know what you're on. I said .com, didn't I?
You did. Yeah, CKOEPP.com.
Please.
Great newsletter.
Follow that. Friend her on Facebook. She does what she's doing now. My phone will ping middle of the night because she keeps crazy hours like I do. And I'm expecting some political, rage-based Paul lycanthropy, and it's a joke about the leaves, and it just makes she's a light. She's a light in a world of darkness. Who helps the little pumpkins cross the road to school? A crossing gourd. Oh, God.
Send those videos, Joe. I'm going to need them. She further wants to know, what is your favorite genre?
My favorite genre. Are you talking? Okay, to write? It's funny because I think in fantasy, and I've done a lot of. I've been running the same D&D style setting for 30 years, but I keep writing sci-fi because that's where I kind of started, and I get it's weird. Lovecraftian horror creeps in when I'm not looking, and that sounds so funny, but it's like I'm writing a story about this, and oh dang it, get back in there, It's like, but I like stories about people. And so it's not necessarily the genre, it's the focus. I was talking to Brian earlier, and I mentioned that I love Babylon 5. And the reason I love Babylon 5 more than Star Wars or Star Trek is, if you watch the first seasons, the writing is these little humanizing details about less than primary characters, touching moments where they both admit that they like opera and they have this discussion about opera while they're walking through their space station and all this stuff. Or the little. So what I like, it's like when people ask me what do I like genre music. I like something that tells me a story and takes me somewhere. Usually with lyrics, I do like to understand that, but once in a while, just something where it takes me to land where I'm headbutting and driving too fast and getting yelled at by my wife. But so it's funny, for comics, I almost feel bad because it isn't straight superhero. It never has been. I love superheroes, but I like, again, the more image, almost the super fantasy, or the super things like Tomb Raider, where it's pulp and fantasy. Pulp is good. Pulp is great. It's part of why I love Brian. But it always interweaves exactly Skyman and the Master of Steam. Because every Nazi needs a boot to the face.
Right.
Again, from the soul. But I've written most genres at one point or another. I just have the good sense to go. Some things are for publication, and I'm not quite of the take your first novel and burn it, then bury the ashes, But I do. It's funny. I have that, and I actually have the first quasi novel I wrote in college. And while that may never be released, I love the world I built. So I find myself writing something where that prequel hopefully will never see the light of day, at least in its current form. Like, Nick's going to pull out his vicious red marker of death, and like, nope. What were you thinking? Burn it. But I don't ever answer questions terribly straight on, but I do provide entertainment.
There we go. And Sarah wonders if Nick can talk with his hands tied down no more than I can.
My dear buddy Jason Leto is very Italian, and the running joke is the way us both up is to handcuff us, which is why I can't drink, because we might have handcuffs, and then I'm I can't. Well, Jessie has a lot of business plans because she can't find her niche. Boy, I misread that for a moment, Jess. Honest to God, because I'm actually mildly dyslexic, dyscalculic, and a couple sequential errors. And I thought it was can't find her Nick. I'm like, honey, I'm right here. You know how to get a hold of it. Anyway, no, we go way, way, way back. She was a neighbor of mine and a dear friend. But yeah, just keep trying things. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to keep throwing darts. Something will stick, and it might not be what you expect, but commit to it wholeheartedly.
Exactly.
Write, publish, finish the story.
That's right.
Current work. All right. Cindy Kep wants current works in progress. Now, what most people don't know is Cindy Kep is one of my 2 remaining patrons. With the COVID stuff, I talked to my patrons, and I was honest, if you couldn't afford, I will hold no animosity. Take care of your own. A lot of people were at my financial level where they just couldn't do it. And I would never, I am the guy, I will give it to you before I'll take it from you. So, I talked to him, and I lost most of my income, but an amazing gentleman by the name of Steve Augusto and Cindy Kep are what's left of my patrons. And that's not me begging money, although please give me money. No, but...
What is the name of your account? Is it under Historical Fencing Guild or Nicholas Tockert?
It's under the Historical Fencing Guild.
I made a note of it. We'll have one more tomorrow.
Thank you.
I'm meaning to do it for a week.
I don't judge. You're already listed. You actually are already listed as one of my supporters, not as a patron, but as just a supporter on a couple of the Supernatural videos. You could go look. Well, not right now because you're talking, but yeah, I wanted to reference you. Now. I know you're talking to this weird fat hobbit dude, like a dehorned satyr is hopping around your screen, talking mad things about caffeine and diligent craze.
As opposed to the troll with the fez who I normally talk to. So,
whoo! Time that drink well. We nearly had a problem
I know,
there.
we almost had an explosion there. It's a superpower.
But works in progress. Now, a lot of things got paused for the Hybrids RPG because I take contracts like the Fae. If I make a contract with you, I'm going to do everything humanly to put it. That becomes the thing. But there's a new expansion that the Crunch has worked out for Big Stompy Robots that will take it to the next level, where it's going to be more like, if you've ever played StarCraft or Command and Conquer, I've been working, this has been a passion project, to develop a system where you can actually get that almost real-time strategy feel, where you're building the place that lets you build the units, that gives you a tech tree kind of thing. That's coming. I mentioned that I'm working on a story that was based on my old universe. That's called Deadfall. And this is a pretty much, to the best of my knowledge, no one else other than my wife has heard about this. But I've been working off and on Deadfall as how am I going to do this? I don't procrastinate traditionally. See, if I want something else, if I want to get something else done, I have to be doing something. So what I do is I get this ring of, I'm procrastinating from one project to write another, and then there's like the cycle, and then like every couple of years the stars align, and I spit out like 4 novellas, a new game, an RPG. So that's in the works. I have The Axe, a sequel, a full sequel to the Simple Sword called The Strong Sword is in the works. But between the Strong Sword and the Simple Sword, I'm doing a breakdown on fighting with an axe, because it was discussed and I realized it just isn't there. So that's in the works. I have a couple short stories that are floating around, because every once in a while a character will walk into my mind and be like, talk about me. No, I don't want to. Okay. Okay. Dude, be cool. Here's your file.
Okay.
We're going to take it from here. Simmer down now. Anyway, simmer down now. So I have a gaggle, and then I have, Cindy knows I have a stack of art because I haven't been drawing enough because I've been writing. So I'm like, guys, send me your Halloween pictures, and I'll see if it interests me. I'll sketch them up. Usually I get 1 or 2. I got like 17 yesterday. So while I'm trying to keep my brain clean and get recalibrated, my art is something that comes and goes with my ability. I have severe nerve damage in my right hand and arm. So those who follow me notice I make this gesture a lot. I had somebody ask me if I'm signing something or I'm throwing something up. No, I had a great sword take the tip off of my elbow.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like, just shattered the bone because it was a trainer. Oh. And I broke the tips off of my arm off-road skateboarding. Ooh. And no, this is the thumb that got slammed in a car door, pulverized, and pulled out of the door without opening it. To do what I've done, I've sustained a tremendous amount of abnormal damage. So I like to think that when I die, if they ever do an autopsy, Ducky's going to be like writing notes like, oh, you're a talkative one. What is, because I've had x-rays like, oh, how long have you played hockey? No, I've just done other things, Moment of pride, I'm sitting there like, I just want a Band-Aid. My thumb is bleeding. I've been bleeding severely, and you guys kind of have been ignoring me. I almost passed out once. Oh, it's not that bad. Run the x-ray. X-ray's going, and I can see it out the window. It looks like a Christmas tree. And it's the nurse, the doctor, and the x-ray tech. The nurse rolls up her eyes, falls backwards, and faints. Doctor horfs into the toilet, into the garbage can. Honestly, and the x-ray tech's like, I've never seen a thumb break like that. spins around like, dude, I have blood loss. I don't care.
Oh, what happened when the turkey got in the fight, Syndicate? He got the stuffing knocked out of him. And I'm not saying this show is high energy tonight, but Carl Witzman says he's on the emergency vodka. Lace Lemke says I wasn't driven to drink. I hijacked the liquor truck. And Carl Witzman says, Lacey, I'm on my second vodka and OJ already. Holy crap, this is high energy. And I've got the emergency.
Oh, wow. You got the emergency box. No, guys, this is around a 7.5 to 8 on the Nick scale. I want to give you a fair warning because I'm not actually able to do the physical bouncing like I would. We're not sword fighting because normally I'd be having this kind of conversation while I'm sword fighting some new student or we're working or I'm talking to like Trelena, you know. And you hear the steel ting, 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 and we're talking about Elvira's boobs and how they're underappreciated, blah, blah, blah. You know, this is just
I appreciate them enough for two people, so.
True, but people don't appreciate her legs, and she's more than just a great rack. But
that's true. That's true. And a great mind, and a wonderful sense of humor also as well.
I mean, look up her history. She started out as an underage go-go dancer in a female impersonator club. So she was pretending to be a female. I'm just a wonderful woman. It's like there's a running joke that Dolly Parton and Elvira were the two influential women in my life outside of my relatives. And there's no combining trait other than wit and some musical. I can't think of another inline trait. But
I'm thinking of 4 things right now, but anyway, moving on. This is why I'm going to be on Willow's Pillow Talk. It's coming Thursday at 8 p.m. And Lacey Lucky said, yes, the worst. Exactly. Hate him with a passion.
Okay. Back in the old days of the Republic, geeks got the crap beat out of them, pardon my vague French, for being geeks, right? I mean, I was savaged for being me. They didn't know what I was, but they were sure there was something up, and, you know, between being who I am and I associate with everybody, we shot at, set on fire. That's what we call freshman year. No exaggeration. I am accustomed to violence. But then, after going through that and knowing what it's like to be hated simply because you like something, you're going to do the same thing? Or say, and then women don't like me. Well, do you douche canoe? You won't let, this cockwaffle tells a lady she can't come into the game shop because she's a lady. It's like, F you, F the beater Ford Pinto you drove in on. May you both die in a fire. I don't care. So yes, I hate bullies. I hate gatekeepers, and with their powers combined, they can suck it. I'm also a product of 90s WWE comes out every once in a while. A little bit of Attitude Era.
Yeah, I did that to my manager at Office Depot one day.
I actually was in the middle of a rather educated discussion that turned into a diatribe about the what was it? The inefficiency of the female mind. I said, with all due respect, let me express this in the words of my people from my culture, sir. Like, wide leg that. What? Middle of a college discussion. I don't care. And then reset to you, sir, a waste of breath. You have lessened the world around you. Please carry a plant to offset the oxygen you have wasted. People get confused. I am a nice guy. That doesn't mean I can't not be a nice guy. It's just there was a thing going around. Please don't be an asshole to me. Because I'm better at it than you are. It's at the back of your mind goes, this must not register on an emotional level. Distract, discombobulate, But yes, and I will always, and it's not white knight syndrome because I'll do it for anybody. I don't care if they're man, woman, child, unidentifiable, and I don't mean that just, we just live in an era where I don't always know what pronouns people use.
Right.
So, I kind of proceed with blatant sincerity. I will doof this up, but there's no offense intended. And I'll be like, I don't know what they got going on, but you suck. So, and it's like, what are you going to do? Beat me up? Go get 3 more of your buddies and then come back, and then I'll know what to deal with this, because this just isn't fit.
And Jeffrey Hayes says you were an old school gamer if your D&D books were 5.5 by 8.5 and tan. Hey, I've still got the box. Cookie still has the box set with the little wax crayon for your die. So
I actually spent the early aughts playing with my buddy with the white set, the proper white box. Yep. And to this day, I tell when people ask what kind of class do you like to play, I go, I like to play an elf. I said race. No, you said class. No, well, elves aren't a class.
Depends
really?
on your vintage. Yeah,
I'm gonna play a hobbit. I'm gonna play a halfling assassin, hide in plain sight, and mess your worm. Your best success story about your fencing instructional work.
And I'm gonna be a half orc bard. You can do that in Hackmaster. What's your best success, Snake?
Your axe is an axe. Best success story. I have to think for a second because I have a lot of them.
Oh,
like I said, the most compelling is the most compelling is the blind guy who is legally blind, and we were able to teach him defense with a series of bells. Basically, I would clip a lower tone bell to my chest. We fought single, and then I would clip a higher tone bell to the end of my sword. And we used foils because they were lighter. So he had basically, it was like black and white silhouettes was basically what he could work with. You know what I'm saying? It was less, it wasn't true no vision, but could track motion vaguely. We worked it out. And he could fight, so that was good. I've had it's hard to say because several of them I can't tell their story because it's not mine to tell. But I've had a lot of, especially female students who overcame, because I'm not dropping their names. They overcame rape and then the suicide attempts from it and total loss of power. And to see them be able to go from being so terrified to be afraid to be alone in a room with a guy, you know what I mean, to being able to sword fight and hold their own. It's something where there's a moment that is what pays me back. And it doesn't matter who it is. All the students have it, but usually it's best with the people who have. I don't want to say a story like mine, but people who've lived a bit and seen the dark side, where the hope and the realization that, hey, I can do this. And there's part of learning to sword fight, let's be honest, while I teach it incredibly practically, it's going from I'm reading about heroes to, hey, I can be a hero. If I can be a hero, maybe I can save myself. Maybe that, the next time it's dark, I won't have to make the call. At the same time, giving them people to make the call if they need it. Mm-hmm. But so it's one of those. I train. I've seen my students get awards and move on much higher ranks and different things. One of my students got to a Class B. He was going for his Class A as a Olympic fencer. He almost made the team before he blew out his knee. But I mean, he was talented. It's because it isn't about me. So it's their success. It's that moment when they're not like they were anymore. And I've seen it. Sometimes it's when they authorize in a different group, or they beat somebody they haven't been able to, or they can control it. I mean, I fought with people who were so paralyzed by the fact they had seizures, they thought they couldn't do anything. They'd be afraid to go on car rides, not drive, afraid to be out of their home. So it's much more than the, hey, look, I mastered that move. Awesome. And I get people who are young and tall and, physically talented, and it's a pleasure to work with. I almost feel bad because it's almost like, okay, I can teach you, but you can go anywhere. And they usually do. And then I get the people who are a little bit, I don't want to say more broken, but I mean, I'm broken. I'm physically damaged. I walk with a cane most of the time. In 2005, I was told I had 6 months before I'd be paralyzed forever from about mid-waist down because of some spine damage. And I did physical therapy. And that will catch up with me someday. There will come a day where I sit down and I'll never get up again. The docs don't know why, and it may be sooner than later. And I understand that. But that goes back to understanding that I'm going to die. Why worry about it? Let's live hard now. I'm going to cry when it hurts. I'm going to mourn the passing of people. But it's like, I'm the guy who get people to laugh at the funeral because sometimes they need to laugh to be able to pour it into cry. They need out of the lukewarm. And I've spent a lot of time like that, ironically, at funerals. But so it's not, I see so many go through their authorizations. And if I were to say my favorite student, it would probably be my friend Trelena. Because she went through, not that kind of thing, but she went through a whole different story. And she became so much. And it was a wonder to behold. It really was transformative. But that's, in the end, I don't treat, while my book is sword fighting, yay, you want to be part of AmpGuard, you want to be part of SCA, you want to be part of whatever, cool, this will help you elementary school your way on. And, I don't claim to be secret master arts. I hate those guys. But I'm a foot. That's all I am in this world. I'm a footstool. A freelance footstool. I thought about having that on my business card for a while. But it's the people like that. It's the ones who've come from thinking they were nothing to, hey, maybe I'm something. If you can get them over that hump, then the purpose of the sword has been fulfilled. I mean, yeah, I can skewer bad guys for sure. Violence is simple and terrifyingly, painfully swift. I don't idolize the violent side of what I do. I understand it. I embrace it as part of it, a dark necessity. If somebody comes through my door, there's a good chance they're not coming back, It's not a pride thing because I'd never want to do that because then I have to live with it. I hate the violence I've had to inflict in self-defense, and but I don't, I understand the necessity. And I don't judge for that either. I've had a lot of vets who have used what I do to teach calibration, to get a mid-mode, because they go from combat awareness to polite society. And, somebody rushes up to you in combat, you blow that away, But in polite society, you have to go, no, don't do that. And what working with vets like that has allowed me to teach them to step down. And it's funny that both journeys come from the opposite end of aggression, but cross this very strange point of controlled confidence that lets them progress. And that's what I'm about, It's. Thank you, Jess. Jesse said something very nice about me.
Jessica Brianne says, Nick is certainly one of the most caring people I have met. He cares passionately and unending. And we've got a lot of comments and questions. Write them down, kid. Write them down, because I'm going to have Nick back. You can comment on. You can count on that. Sarah says this is going to be a 4-hour show with comments. I'm okay with that. You guys are on fire too. But let's.
I will try to be good. I'm sorry. You hit a couple magic buttons, folks, and.
Yeah, and you're an amazing man, Nick, says Willow Schuyler. Let's rid the world of bullies and bring this geeky world more positivity. Carl Witzman says, amen. And like I said, I'm gonna skip a lot of the comments because we've been on for 2 hours and 23 minutes. So
I'm sorry, Brian. I mean, I know I'm good.
Do not be
Go to bed.
sorry, man. You are not to apologize, brother. And there we go. About Skyman, crash, bang, boot to the snoot, and let's see.
Please. You can quote me.
That's right. And Carlene, honey, did you break the ceiling fan again? And Sarah,
Yes, sir.
so you don't over penetrate. Right.
Like and Floppy is good. Moving on.
That's right. And I got Amy Hill, but I'm afraid I'll miss something, says Carlene. Me too. And doing the Amy Hale dance in your car, Carly. And there is the one, the only Andy Shake. What's up, guys? Good to see you, Andy. A pleasure as always. And Carl Witzman's going to get a coffee can for her. Let's see. Andy Shea Cordy said, I loaded in Sandy one time. Had to use a forklift. And forklift now new hashtags for Sarah. Long fist and push rod. Yes, it's coming now from Parker Brothers, a brand new game. And Lacey Lemke, glad you were here. Mwah, I love you. It's been great, but I got to get off here and get back to work. See you later. And Andy Shaky Corey says, I practice my nunchucks when we go on a family walk each night. My neighbors sit the people around talk about us. What? Imagine that. Sarah has a good question here.
Going to the backyard, same thing happens. Actually, this year was very sedate. Part of the problem is where I moved is like the windiest place in America. Yeah. Seriously, it's way up there. And so normally I have a huge party. I actually have 2 Halloween parties a year, one at the end of August and one at Halloween. I'm looking to place the 3rd Halloween party, but I haven't found it yet. Because one's for my birthday, because I don't like the attention on me. I'm not comfortable with it. So I just have a big Halloween party and everybody dress up because it was warm enough to wear fun stuff. This year, let's see, this year was sedate, but we didn't even have a fire. We finished A Night of Lonesome October by Roger Zelazny, which we read every year. I actually read, because it's got a chapter a day for the month of October. And it's a brilliant book. Illustrations by Goen Wilson, and we read it like, how some people do the Christmas poems. We read that every single night, all the way through October every year, to find out if Jack the Ripper and his dog Snuff can save the world. Not making it up. It is probably one of my favorite books of all time. And I actually started a holiday among my friends called Leafy Moss. At the end of September, we all send each other ebooks to prep for the coming winter, but we're poor, so we can't send paper books. So we all send like shady bootlegs and photocopied PDFs, and I admit it freely. But yeah, we watched a bunch of our favorite old movies and Lost Skeleton of Cadavra, House on Haunted Hill, things like that. If you haven't seen Lost Skeleton, you really should. It's a modern classic. But yeah, so I'll stop there because.
Okay. Yeah. And what is exactly in that Joy Juice? Carl Whitson says, I can't keep up, Sarah. Too much vodka. Holy crap, the show is nonstop. And Trevor Hawkins says, Sarah, I could use a glass myself. Agreed, trying to keep up, but I catch the innuendos for some reason.
That's because you deserve every innuendo, Sarah. You are one of my favorite vampires, and that's saying something in the company I travel.
That's true. Molly Daniels, hello. Glad to see you. You remember Molly. And
yes,
hello,
I do.
Yes, and hello, Magi J Gospel Magician. If you were in a Disney film, which weapon would you rather have? An ice sword from Frozen 2 or a pirate sword from Pirates of the Caribbean?
Considering I have this on my desk, I'm going to go pirate sword because I don't like to rely on magic, even in the real world. I'm not saying I don't understand the mechanics, but yes, a good cutlass is a reliable thing I can make go.
That's
with
true.
The powers combined, they can suck it.
Under the sheets.
I'm a big fan of the dual-wielded flick-off with the inversion, should it be needed. You sleep well, hon. You'll bug me later, and that's wonderful. Like I said, I've known her since she was a little kid.
Cool.
Okay.
And Bill Sarton is swearing off coffee thanks to Nick
Well,
Tockert.
let's see. It's Tuesday. I will be back on harassing him in like 12 hours or less, you know?
We might get through the comments by then, too. Who knows?
We'll take it. It'll be a very special, never mind the further.
Yeah. Tonight on a very special Never Mind the Furthermore. And have a good night, folks. Have a good night, you too, Joe. Thank you so much. And Cindy Kep says that was fantastic fun. Y'all are a hoot. You are, Nick.
I try to keep things entertaining. We need it. We absolutely need it.
We do, and you did more than your share on what was definitely a very special episode of Clever Title Penning. And you bet your backside you're going to be back on here. Have a blessed night, my friends. You too, man. Glad to.
Thank you. I love magicians in general, so yes, you're awesome.
Coolness. He really is. I've seen him work. He's great. So anyway, thank you, Nick.
Hey, sure. If there's anything else I can do, let me know. I can put the garbage can back on my head, tie the piece of plastic around my neck, and fake it. I've done it before.
We've got something to look forward to for next time.
Wait! I just realized something eerie. Totally off it. I have a goatee and poofy hair, and I trim my sideburns. You have long sideburns, no hair, and no goatee. We're like a beer-verse version. Like, hail the Terran Empire! You know what I mean?
And I'm like, that's entirely logical, Captain. Oh, my God. Oh, and here we go. Willow Schuyler has the question of the evening. She wins. Now that the show is over, what do we do with our lives?
That is the glory that is me and that I have come into your life.
And he's proud of his humility, too.
Yeah. See, I can only say lines like that because I believe absolutely none of it. And as soon as I punch the disconnect button, I'll be going, oh, God, what have I done? Nick came out again. I couldn't, And I know you know that sentiment. Like, I did.
What did I just do? What did I just say? How do I get away with this crap? Yeah.
Now I'm going to just dig in my hole, look for Precious, whatever Precious of the week is,
Well, something as precious, Nick, is your friendship. I'm so glad to have it. I'm glad you're in my life, brother. I seriously am. And you have been amazing. So we are going to let you have one more time. We're going to let you have the floor and all the dirt on it. And I would like you to, I'd like you to tell people where they can find you, how to keep up with you, and all the awesome things you do. You have 20 minutes.
Wonderful. All right.
Talk fast.
If you said 20 minutes, you mean 20 seconds. Okay, here we go. If you want to buy my books, they can be found at amazon.com/author/Nicholas A. Tockert. You can look up Big Stumpy Robots there, The Simple Sword. Go to YouTube, look up the Historical Fencing Guild with the cartoon Boot. That's me. I'm on every Friday Night Live, and then I throw random things. I have a Patreon of the Historical Fencing Guild that is also you access, and then you're giving me money, so I give you content. That's kind of how that works. If you want to see my art for like 16 years of random cartoon goofery, you can find that at www.deviantart.com/NickT. Again, that's me. Folks, thank you for letting me into your lives, into your night, and into your minds. I hope you're all staying safe and staying as sane as we can. Please be kind to each other and don't forget your own awesomeness. I'll let Brian do his whole outro goodness, and I will, for the first time in the evening, politely shut up.
Oh my God, Nick, you've made this a very, very special episode. Thank you so much again for being here. And we'll put you on mute. We'll take you out of the picture for a moment. We'll get that and stick around so I can say goodnight to you, okay? All right, that was, ladies and gentlemen, that was Nick Tockert, an amazing creator, a good friend. And please check out his Patreon. Check out the Historical Fencing Guild on Patreon and on YouTube. And thank you all for being here. We're sorry we didn't get to all your comments, which were quite exciting, quite fun to read. As our audience was trying to figure out which one of us needed the most Xanax. It's kind of a tie, but anyway. thank you all for being here. Definitely appreciate it. Big thank you to Plasma Fire Graphics for sponsoring this episode. Plasma Fire Graphics, when the look of your book matters to you. And next week, what have we got? Programming notes real fast. Tomorrow morning and Friday, we'll be back at 10 a.m. in the morning with Nevermind the Furthermore. That's Eastern time. Thursday at 8 p.m., I'm going to join Willow Schuyler for some pillow talk, and we're going to be sharing a pillow with author Michaela Jade. That should be fun. And then this weekend on Saturday, I will be attending 2 virtual cons simultaneously. One is Indie Author Day from the MAPLD out of Matson, Illinois Public Library. Thank you to Maria Gonzalez for for inviting me and the great show you're about to put on. Bobby Nash will be there, and a couple of my other friends. Follow my page, and you'll find out who they are. And also, Imagine Other Worlds with Authors. You've seen a little bit every day at noon this week as they are honoring some independent bookstores. Well, this weekend from 10 to 5, we're going to be having some great entertainment. A bunch of your favorite authors will be there, and from 11:40 to 12. From 10:40 to 11:40 Central Time, I'll be on the Ask an Author panel. Please bring your questions. And then from 2:20 to 3:20, there'll be a marketing panel I will be on. And then at 1 p.m., I'll be providing some information on broadcasting, why you should do it, how you can do it a little better, and bring your pen and paper where you're going to need some note-taking stuff. So anyway, thank you very much for joining us here on this great episode of Clever Title Pending. Thank you to everyone who is listening to us. Let me get my paper. At our iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and Spotify, and other places where you can get quality podcasts. Thank you for listening to us. And be sure to check out our website, risingtide.pub, where you can sign up for my free monthly newsletter. The latest one went out just last Sunday, along with the apology because I put the wrong video in, but that's the sort of stuff that happens. We have all kinds of secret videos, secret links, inspirational quotes, but we provide motivation, education, and inspiration with every issue, so please check it out. If you're watching on YouTube, whether it's on the Brian K. Morris Rising Tide Publications page or the Geek Insider page, please give the video a like if you enjoyed it. Please share it with your friends. Also, please subscribe, because that helps with our visibility. It takes just a moment, doesn't cost you a thing, just a couple seconds of time, and we greatly appreciate it. And thank you to our new subscribers who have signed up this week. Also, I have a Patreon page too, Brian K. Morris, all one word, lowercase, and even $1 gets you something, and $5 will get you a sneak peek at our NaNoWriMo project, National Novel Writing Month, where we are writing a first draft flash novel. Please check us out. We'll be glad you did. And if you're watching on YouTube, whether it's on the Rising Tide Publications page or the Indie Event page, please, again, give the video a like, and please like that page. Follow it if you would, please, because, again, it helps us so very much. And in closing, that's all the stuff I can think of right now. So anyway, thank you again to Nicholas Tockert for being here. Thank you for being here. And next week, we have got another great show where it's going to be fantastic. 2 returning guests together for the first time on this place here. Bobby Nash and Jim Beard will be returning to the show. I'm going to go out for a pizza and some beer because they won't need me from that point. Those guys love to talk, and I love to listen to what they got to say. So if you're into new pulp and great writing, please join us next week for Bobby Nash and Jim Beard on Clever Title Pending. So again, folks, thank you very much. I'm Brian K. Morris. Hope you enjoyed what you saw here. And just as usual, we tell everybody, stay smart, stay safe, wash your hands, and don't apologize for being awesome. Thank you for tuning in to Clever Title Pending. Have a great rest of your night, everyone, as we look for the thing that we'll sign off with. Here we go. I've stalled enough. Have a great night, everyone.
This is the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Subscribe to us wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Also catch us on the HWWS Web TV YouTube channel. Subscribe today and become part of the legend.
Now, every Sunday morning, longtime independent comics creator and Indie Volt podcaster Randy Zimmerman hosts a discussion on the lighter side of comics, the more whimsical and fun comics out there, on the Sunday Funnies. That's 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time every Sunday on Indie Volt, indievolt.com, the Indie Volt YouTube channel, and the usual Indie Volt sites on Facebook. Listen in, won't you? Participate in the chat. Let's have some fun. See you there.
From author Brian K. Morris comes a tale of irreverent holiday horror, told with much inappropriate humor. Dr. Victor Frankenstein creates the spirit of giving himself. Ho, ho, ho. Santa-Stein, or the post-holiday Prometheus. Available at Amazon.com. Get your copy today.
Thank you for tuning in to Clever Title Pending, a Rising Tide Publications and Brian K. Morris production. A member of Comic Book Advocating Network and sponsored by GeekInsider.com. Become part of our show with sponsorship and advertising opportunities. For details, contact advertising at GeekInsider.com or visit podcast.geekinsider.com. The Geek Insider podcast is available on your favorite app, so please hit the follow button and share it out to your friends. Because if you don't, you might have to turn in your geek card.